Where we are.
Behind you.
I.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everybody. Jackie Bolster is here and is gonna run the Granite County Safety Meeting. Paul is here. Go ahead, Jackie.
Okay, can I have a motion to accept the minutes of the September 20th, 2022 meeting?
I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes for the 2020 meeting.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Uh,
So Brody and Rhodey are not here yet. They're not here? He's not here. Valerie is on,
Not yet.
okay. So we'll go to Paul.
All good. For the road and for the solid waste.
The internet's been really slow today, Blanche.
Everything's all up to date.
Internet was really slow today.
Yeah.
For me to
Yeah,
get.
I had issues with those virus transfers, but they finally came in.
The only comment, I don't know if I should say it or not, maybe the guys not start wearing the vest. Visibility, so it's dark, you want to get out and walk around. See. No, reason done. I think we had a bunch of them, we used to have them.
Everything's just all man. Not much any good. We get some.
If they need that, so when they walk around the truck and at least somebody can see them. Yeah.
Do we need to order some?
I'll just pick get them and no.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty good when they're on, and they have them right there.
I just think just stay with somebody, you know. I see Nick, I don't walk around, he had a black coat on, you can't see him, at least we'll think somebody might see him in the stores at least. Adding.
Adam and more like.
Sure.
Sure, bad guy. Like putting a pole on it.
I just think we should. Oh, I got to say.
Well, there's his name.
The stairs are hard on her.
Do you have any updates, Janine?
No. Other than that, what do you call it? Johnson Control will be here today. To change out some stuff and get these heaters that aren't working well. So I got a few that are not working well, they're good.
Did you ever hear of anybody wanting to pile that snow out front of that place here, trying to get rid of it? Becky was gonna talk to somebody.
I never heard nothing about it. What do you mean out front?
No, the city's gonna do it. Hey, Billy,
The city said when it snows a lot, they will come out here and plow as long as we're not parking on the side, but
I'm sure you're building up, we're gonna have a big mess again.
I can call Cena if you would like.
Where are you talking about?
That's where it builds up right out here along the sidewalk, they could clean that out, so it don't build up full of ice and then people got.
There was a whole big old pile there and I moved that with it. What? Myself, a couple, 3 weeks ago, yes, it was a couple weeks ago.
So when it starts to drain, it'll drain and that.
Right.
Push down in here again.
And from face, please. When you're talking.
What the hell are you doing?
It's, I don't know, they just got that little ditch dug in there and I don't know if it's gonna drain or not. The sidewalk is lower than the road. That is the problem. So, I think we're gonna have issues with that for until the sidewalks are wide. Like the curb.
Aaron, do you have any updates?
No. Everything's just cool beans.
Me?
There's Val on there.
No. You don't see her yet.
Well, Val and I are gonna work, we talked after the active shooter exercise. And they have the ability, they have 4 lines to do, text 911. So like if the, telephone lines are down, but you can still text 911, and a lot of people don't know that. So Val and I are gonna work on an article for the newspaper, just explaining what IPAWS is, what the reverse 911, text 911, just so that, and get it in the paper so people are aware. So that came out of that active shooter class or exercise we did. We also discussed the Run, Hide, Fight. It's a program that like this, it goes to the schools, like if there's somebody comes into the building, what to do. So we're gonna see if, I think Ed Royce may be one of the instructors. We're gonna check on him and see if we can't get that in here even for the courthouse people to do that. And let's see, we had like 29 people at our
Right around there. Right
shooter
around 30.
exercise, so it went really well.
Good job.
Safety cards are completed and Billy has handed those out. And then, Billy and I have been on a discussion about, a different platform for training and safety incentives and new program. So.
A new safety program, instead of those video things we're doing?
Yeah, Brody had sent me some videos on different trainings, so they could be like towards like. The road department on equipment, office people who could be, getting a
Ergonomics.
movie, things like that, so it would be more. Geared towards the job you're doing, so. But we just wanted to have that discussion about a new platform. What do you guys think?
Yeah, it saves us in the long run. Having films and fun,
So this would be different programs that, because they're probably doing the same things over and over and over and over and over again.
Some of them have been, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
where it's very repetitive.
Yes, and that was, Sue had, voiced her concerns that it seems like, trying to find new things, and they're not updating that platform that she's sending them out on. We also have a question that had been brought up, so when people, we have to figure out. Like safety modules, if people are doing the safety modules. And they haven't worked all year long, but they're saying they're doing the safety modules. To me, if then will it come back that somebody did this on their own time? And they're not charging the county for it. Then will they come back somewhere down the way saying, well, I did all of them and the county didn't pay me for them? To me, I feel as though they need to be clocked in or charging the county for the times that they are doing the safety modules.
Okay, so my understanding is, I thought it was kept track through the administrative assistant's office. That when you did your training, it's clicked on and it.
So the issue, this specific issue is where we have maybe some fill-in employees that are given access to do the safety trainings and take part in the safety modules, but maybe they're fill-in employees that we haven't used all year long. But have a county email and have been assigned these trainings, so they have completed them and in the past have been doing them on their own time at home and have received the gift card. But this year maybe have not been used as a fill-in employee, but completed all their safety trainings is kind of what we found at the end of the year. So we wanna kind of set the tone, cause it's the end of the year, it's kind of too late to be like, what do we do now? We kind of just are going to provide the gift card, but we want to set the tone for the program going into 2023.
What do you mean set the tone?
So like right now, we can't say, well, we can't give you the gift card, or we want to like set the parameters for the program. Like, what do we do going in? So if this person has to be clocked in, like, do they have to be working at the time? Like, what do we do? I guess, how do you guys want us to do this?
Okay, so going in the past, if you're on the payroll and you've been assigned to do these because you're on the payroll, but you haven't been paid, you're saying that they shouldn't do these trainings and get a gift card for doing them?
No, I think so we have proof they're doing them and they're being paid while they're doing them.
Well,
Otherwise,
why aren't they checking in with you? Isn't there a,
We check on the platform at the end of the year to see who all has completed all the ones that have been assigned based on their email. They're assigned through their county email. In November, we go through and we check and be like, okay, all of these people have completed the ones they have been assigned. And then we issue the gift card, and is what we
okay,
found.
so your point is,
What we found in November is there is an employee who completed all of their assigned safety trainings, but never clocked in a single hour at the count.
did it all on their own at home, but not showing it's on county time. We don't want them to come back and then.
oh,
say,
come back and see if, okay, because I did this training, you need to pay me? Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm kind of looking at.
Is that what's going down, Billy?
Well, kind of, and I don't know how much you guys want to discuss this in an open meeting.
But we
Either.
can
since
say,
it's an
just
employee.
don't bring the name and that, just, I just think they need to be on the time clock. when
Well,
they're doing
I
it.
don't see how they can demand, because we request them to do this, and they're doing it voluntarily because they want that gift card. I don't see how they can come back and say you owe me because I took this on my own time, and
We don't know if they're going to or not, but it's just that I think we better make it stated that they should be doing it on county time when they're doing these.
and if they haven't worked, so they come into work and then they sit down and do a training instead of working.
I mean, but if it's like.
Well, most
thing
training
is-
is on work time.
Huh?
Most training is on work time.
Right,
Exactly.
so you've got a part-time person who's not here, but scheduled, okay, to work that day. But instead of doing his work in order to get his gift card, he's gotta do his training. That doesn't make sense. I mean, that. I don't see,
guess
so
we're-
what you're saying, sorry, what you're saying is, you feel that because they did it on their own time. You're afraid they're gonna come back and say, I did this training on my own time. But I need compensated for it, for the time I took doing the training.
She didn't, I did.
I'm pointing to her.
No, but I'm the one that said I was worried about them coming back.
Here's my concern. So if the person is doing it at home, okay, but what if that person is going to the place of work, not clocking in? Something happens to that person while they might be at the job and they're not clocked in. Let's say they step off a step and break their ankle. They're not clocked in, so are they covered by workman's comp?
Well, yeah, that has nothing to do with the training class then.
Well, yeah, it does, because if they're doing it and not clocked in,
If they're here doing
County
it.
work.
yeah, if they're doing county work, they should be clocked in.
Where do they clock in at? I don't think anybody clocks in anywhere.
Well,
But
they
that's
should be
just a figure of
compensated
speech.
for their time.
Oh, you're saying that they should be compensated for their time doing the training. Is that what you're saying?
Yes,
All regular employees do it on county time.
absolutely.
So volunteer employees, part-time employees who were asked to do this, which it's voluntary, and they're doing it, and they're doing it for the gift card. Need to be compensated for it. Is that what you're saying?
I believe that's what you're saying.
Of course.
And we're asking them to do it.
And And I mean, I think last year, like 2022 is kind of a wash. I think we're just kind of trying to figure out, because we're changing the program up anyway, going into 2023 to make the programs more applicable to each department, but like, do you guys want to? What do you guys want the program to look like going into 2023? Do you want it to still work that way, or do you want to make adjustments? I think is the
So
question.
instead of them doing it on their own at home. They do it at home, but get compensated for doing it. Because then they're considered on county time.
Well, some of these things are only about 15-20 minutes long, some are even shorter.
Yeah.
So how do you compensate them for 7 minutes? That's the deal, and I do believe that on them, don't they, Billy? They tell you how long it's taking you
Yeah.
to do them as
Most of
well,
them, most of them. Mhm.
so there you go.
And I mean, I think if we're gonna change, I think where it's coming from is if we're going to change up the platforms and make it more applicable to each department, I think is where we're coming from is these should be being done at work with your department head, so you're applying them to your work environment. If we're giving you a gift card as an incentive to take these safety trainings, hopefully you're taking something away from them, applying them to your work environment, so the county is getting the benefit.
Yeah.
I think that's, in my mind, that's the point of the program.
It's not
So,
just so you get. the
If you're
gift card.
not actually working at the county all year, or being used for the county, or working at the county and just taking these for, I mean, you are taking them as a voluntary program, but I mean, I feel like we're revamping the program, so the past is the past, but what is it going to look like going forward?
Any discussion? Everybody think about,
Yeah,
I mean, they need to think about it.
you guys, yeah, and we can kind of come up, we're kind of doing some incentives. Different incentives for, like, if you see an unsafe measure and you stop that unsafe measure. We have additional gift cards, and we're like thinking that if somebody, like every quarter doesn't stops an unsafe measure or whatever, they can report it to Billy or I. And then on every quarter, we call a name out to receive one of these extra gift cards. Something like that to, you know, I think sometimes our safety program is kind of like food, nobody cares. So we're just trying to make it so that people do have are buying in and are a little more conscientious of the safety that needs to be applied in our county. I mean, I don't know if we've even had any workman's comp. I never get to report, so. And this year. Have we had any in your departments? Do you know of?
Do you know it or you don't think so?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Which is
What did
great.
They come through Sue and then she should give them to you or so?
No, Becky does them all
Becky does
because
them now.
Mike used to do them and then Becky does them now. Which I should ask her, but,
So doesn't Payne West give us a report on that?
yeah, but he hasn't been here for 2 meetings.
Yeah.
Shouldn't they
Was
be
he
forwarding
working
that
for
to
the
you
meeting?
anyway, being the coordinator of all this? I'm just asking.
What's that?
No, I do agree that they need to do this on county time, so if you feel that if they're doing this at home, they should be compensated and it's considered being on county time.
Yes,
And it's gonna save us too on you know, then.
Yeah, I know it does, yeah.
That's, you know, I mean,
I mean, the incentive is giving them a gift card so that they'll do it. Huh,
but utilizing it in our county too.
Yeah, that's the main thing.
Yeah,
I think it's a step forward. We need to look into it a little better and just see how we can make it work better, but.
For next year, yeah.
so this would be one thing, I guess, as far as. When you have the part-time people and you say you can do this and you're offered to do this, and when it comes out, they need to be set. Okay, you have to get this done, you can't do them all at once. Shouldn't we do them as they come
As
out,
they
the
come.
new ones come out?
so our Area 5 gals, they have that opportunity. One has done them. The other 2 just got their emails. But we pay them out of our Area 5 program to do these safety modules and they just added onto their time and they documented as safety meetings. So,
And then you just document them on the crew though, right?
Yeah.
You give that to Becky then,
Yes.
so we have.
They all comes right back on the computer in there.
So do
Yeah.
they don't do the group thing where they all sit there and do the
They
same,
do the group
they
thing,
do?
yeah.
so do you document that on like one of those safety sheets that I gave you? Who was all
No.
there?
Yeah, they wait till everybody's together to do them.
Okay.
They always have done.
Yes. Sue has that stuff.
Sue
I'm just
has
trying so we can have proof that we can show if something happens that, you know,
Yeah.
that's all I just need that documentation. So just, think that that one pretty good.
Okay. So Billy and I will work on a new incentive program, if that's with your blessing, and then
Bring it
present it to you. Okay. All right,
Better to keep updated than get behind and we're.
absolutely, no. Any other further discussion? Do you guys like the idea of like a quarterly draw for something that's, you know, if there's a. You know, safety issue that has been stopped to keep our employees safe?
I do, cause then it can go right back to building them and shows that, you know, we're still active and, I mean, they are active, but this just gives a little more. You know, I like it.
So I'm confused there a little bit. So say something occurs laid across the floor and somebody moves it. They're gonna claim they did something for safety reasons?
Well, what if it is a trip hazard?
Okay.
You know,
I'm just a little confused, but I'll figure it out.
well, we'll give you the
Clarify it,
parameters of what is a safe, you know.
Drop water on the floor, want a safety word.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Within reason and stuff down there.
Yeah, monetary value, say you're going to bestow these, you're first. Come to my office that have found these.
It's not like every, you know, it warrants a bit of, you know, something from somebody being hurt. Like Paul, if some piece of iron is sticking out and someone comes around the corner and smacks into it.
Different areas need to be different things to pertain to.
Right. Should be looking for the anyway.
It's just,
I don't know about the incentive thing. I think the gift cards for them doing the modules is fair because it does give them incentive to do them, otherwise they wouldn't even do them.
but will it not give somebody an incentive to watch for something that could be a safety hazard too? And then we wouldn't have any, like, if we don't have any workman's comp.
That's a good idea.
Huh?
That's a good idea. How much is it?
It's a $35
Yeah.
gift card.
And they're extras from a couple of years
Years
ago
ago.
that are left over that we have in the file.
We already have
cabinet
them.
before.
So this would be something that, okay, you'd throw in a bucket and then you draw out of the bucket to see who won it? Or
Yep.
does everybody get one?
No,
No.
it would be,
So it'd be somebody who stopped a unsafe manner. So like say, I'm just gonna use Scott for Matt, he did, you know. Kept Paul from running into a piece, like, hey, stop. So Scott's name would go in the bucket and then on a quarterly basis, we would pull a name out. And then that person, whose ever name was pulled out, is the winner.
So a person's name would be put in there several times for each deed they
Yeah.
do.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
A lot of it's
And
just
then we
keep
draw
them
each
active
quarter.
on safety, the whole thing. It's
Yeah.
not so much about getting the $35 as if they could save a big accident happen, and that's what we need to look at
Awareness.
instead of the $35,
right.
right?
Exactly.
We could give them an
That's
Attaboy
right.
award, I mean, you know. But we have these extra 4 cards left over, so we thought that that would be a good way to utilize them. And
I think it's a
keep
good
our
deal.
county safe,
I think it's a good deal.
and we don't have people losing time from work. We don't have higher rates on workman's comp.
Mhm.
So who are they gonna turn this into? I guess we'll figure that out.
Yeah. you could-
They can take, they'll.
Yeah.
They'll work it out.
So that's our proposal.
I like it.
Do they need to vote on it to make it happen?
Do we have do we have a vote to implement a safety incentive program and a new platform training?
I'll make the motion that we go ahead with the incentive program. This safety.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
I vote for it.
all right.
Thank you.
That being said, I have a motion to adjourn the safety meeting.
I'll make the motion during the safety.
Every big line.
Chuck is seconding, so all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much.
Next one will be March 14th, 9 AM. Okay, we'll move on to board minutes for December 6th. There's a motion on accepting them.
Yeah, there was one thing on the minutes. I said it was 99%. Soil
Thank you.
or moisture in the snow and 90%. So it should be 99.
Okay. let me do-
Other than that, I'll move to accept the minutes.
Okay, a second.
In public comment.
No.
Being none, all in favor, on the chain. Aye. Aye. Most been carried back. Go into correspondence.
Oh, one piece.
Got one, but Chad let.
Copy of this signed agreement
Oh,
from
thank
when I was up
you.
here. a while ago. Yep. Is everything going?
Good.
Good. How about you?
It's going.
What about that game Saturday?
So well.
Go Jack.
No, I worked for those guys for a bit, so
That's one
I did the Brookings.
of my nephews. Right.
Right into the public comment. Public comment. I mean, it's like the safety vest. What's the big deal? Getting. Safety. I didn't think it was a bad deal to, have them wearing safety vests or working in the dark.
What's up?
Oh, when I tell Paul, I think they need to have them high visible vests on. They're working in the dark. He makes it like,
They don't.
no, that's why I seen one of the guys and he said, well, no. You need to,
Don't we have a clothing allowance for them so that they can get something like that?
and then we supplied them a few years ago and then they quit wearing them. We keep telling them, but I think it's to the point that when we have a thing there that's, yes, they're gonna.
Every other private company makes sure that
Well, it's
they
just,
wear fluorescent stuff.
it's the same thing. I mean, it's not like it's. And we're buying them. It's not coming out of theirs. I mean, they're. We had them before, they were hanging in the shops. If I should go look and see, maybe I'd take them to the laundromat, clean them. I don't, they hung there so full of dirt. I just think something like that, with it's dark in the mornings,
So you mentioned it to Paul.
right here in the safety meeting, it's on record. But I think we just need to tell them, yeah, they need it.
And he said,
That's, somebody gets hurt,
I think it should be a requirement.
I do too.
All the time or just when it's dark?
All the time, I think, because when they come around them rigs and that, the state's making them wear theirs all the time, which I think is a good deal, it's just I mean, if he even said just for the dark, you still have them cloudy, yeah, it should be all the time. It's a goddamn fast, they can wear it. I think, I mean, they should wear it all, in and out of the trucks, they're moving stuff, they're walking across the street to get the loader down there at Hall, you know, cause the Sam's on one side, I mean, just stuff like that. Could save them.
Well, like in t-shirts and stuff on the front,
Just a good
it could
idea.
be kind of a uniform.
I think they're just a shit, they're just a mess.
It smells like a diner in here.
I need to
I
dance.
wanna sit
Does?
down and have like breakfast.
It's I bought caramels and I bought more coffee and opened it.
All of the Napa invoices have been paid, except for this one. We can't seem to figure out who has a 96 Jeep Cherokee. And I don't really care who has it, but somebody owes us $22.38.
Morning.
Morning. How's it
Morning,
going?
Blake.
Morning. What's new down here?
What?
So,
And on December 1, Steve Jacobson put something else on our account. He's paid it, but it still happens.
Can't do it. That can't be done, can.
What happened?
The county road crew has been putting things on our account for their personal stuff to have it sent here. And then there was $387 worth of stuff that hadn't been paid for. And so we had to track that down and figure out who owed us that money. So
But
Steve
he's
came
come
and
in
paid,
everything, right?
he came and paid that on Thursday or Friday. But that one there, we can't, nobody's fessing up to a 96 Jeep Cherokee. And I don't know, and this is all, I mean. They changed their invoicing in June or July. And so that's when I was starting to see what rates the account or the charges were going to. So prior to that, I don't know if this has happened prior or not. So,
is this a personnel thing where it should be? No.
Yeah,
Yeah, I should close it.
yeah,
Close it, in case the name slips.
yeah.
Hey, we're still in, public comment.
Elena.
Go ahead, Elena.
Thank you. For the record, Elena Gagliano. I thought this was public comment from 9:25 to 9:35. So why were the mics muted?
Cause we had a personal matter and I closed the meeting.
Personal matter during public comment? So if
Yes.
I was there in person, you would have asked me to leave the room?
Correct.
And the person that you were talking about, was he or she there in the room?
Correct.
Oh, they were. I
I
think
don't-
you guys better look at how you handle meetings, because this is public public time. And it has nothing to do with closing the meeting. Because the people that are watching here remotely don't have a clue on what the heck's going on. We
Thank you.
count just as much as the people that are there. Thank you. And I don't need an explanation from you, Scott.
I'm
It's
not,
my,
giving- it just gets old every time. It don't matter what we do, she just.
Yeah, you have
Yeah.
discretion as chair to be able to do that, and you properly closed them.
Let's move on the roads.
Yeah. Okay, we're into road superintendent calls here.
Everything's going good.
What this thing here? Does, Patchers, Colleen,
They wanna plow themselves up there by Stewart.
and, okay, it says following occasional gravel and snow removal. They remove gravel.
No, but that's this gravel needs to be scratched off of there. And I think why they wrote that gravel on there was they put a few buckets of dirt in some holes or something. And that's what that is. And it needs to have a timeline on it.
So that could be lined out in the initial, if you're gonna approve it.
Did Jim Lock get all of you?
No.
Yeah, Well, could you call him so we make sure that that's supposed to be really cold, I don't want that animal shed freezing up,
Yeah, I'll give him.
see if he. Actually got there, or if he was gonna use, we're gonna take the boat down, and raise him. Never have him back.
Yeah, I've never heard nothing from him.
Yeah, would you get hold of him this morning, so we don't want that freezing up.
With that,
The ambulance shed down here. The heater's quit in the bay, we're gonna have that.
he didn't fix it,
Well, I don't, he never did get hold of Paul, but I don't know if the guy ever showed up and looked at it.
I called me.
I'll have Paul get hold of him this morning, and if we have to, call us back and we get it maybe.
Yeah, I'll give him a call.
yeah, it's gonna freeze up next week for sure.
Right,
Yeah, we don't want that.
supposed to get pretty cold.
Anything else?
No, we got the burn permits for the dump, so we'll be lighting them on fire this week. And
Got the parts for the backhoe.
got, got parts of the back, where they're working on that.
Anybody get a hold of Jonko about the cows?
That's coming up, it's on the thing here later.
On what?
Scott Gunderson wants to know sheriff. the sheriff
Oh,
on-
okay.
Other than that, that's about all I got.
Guys have any comments? Now we got a few minutes still.
Oh, gravel pit. You haven't cleared it off yet.
No, we decided not to until he gets ready to move in there. To keep that, leave the snow there for insulation, yeah. Otherwise, we strip it, it'll, especially when it gets that cold, it'll really freeze.
Good idea.
Yeah, he's gonna give me a week's notice and then. When he's ready to go within a week, then we'll put it off.
Everything running good? You got that hydraulic working good at the dump?
Yep. So far, so good.
I don't have nothing else here. For this. We're a few minutes early, but as long as having stay here for the carcass stuff. We'll go into the carcass dump site discussion. I had a few calls, Jody Cutler called. On this, and she was asking what was going on, and I said that the sheriff brought it up to our attention. He don't know what to do with the dead animals when he picks them up off the highway. Well, why would he pick them up off the highway? Isn't that Department of Transportation Fish and Games deal? If it's on a county road, I can see something with us, but this here, the Fish and Game should step up too, because they used to take care of them. They comment, that they're saying that they're animals and stuff, and I mean, they're kind of dragging us into another dump site, and I'm for the last.
Scott, this is Scott. Can I say something to that? We're not picking stuff up off state right away and this and that. I'm talking about the ones that we're getting called to in town in Phillipsburg and people's yards.
Oh, I thought you said the highway.
No, we're getting calls from people in town, deer getting killed on fences or dying of natural causes and this and that. It's in town. So we're getting calls from the community to take care of these deer, which we do, but yeah, we have no place to put them. And my biggest thing is Fish and Game or the state wants to make all these regulations where you can and can't dump these, but they don't want to give any options as to where you can dump them. Typical, government agency, in my opinion. So I just wanted to clarify that for you, okay?
Yeah, thank you. I agree. I totally.
So I thought we were gonna get a hold of Jonko.
Yeah, that's why I'm here. Yeah, I mean,
You gotta state your name and everything.
yeah, sure, I'm Brad Bayless. And, so I'm the bear technician for the area here. And so, yeah, I mean, it is a challenge, because now that we no longer have a place to, go with them. I mean, we're kind of stuck in the same boat. And, I mean, you're right, as far as when they're along the highway, the highway department will primarily pick them up. I know the folks that I've talked to with the highway department, they don't have a site to dispose of them at, so they're having to haul them clear to the Y in Missoula. And that's about what I would have to do too, if I picked one up. Yeah, so. Well, so Avando, like, we don't have the option to run everything up there, just because they would be, inundated with stuff if we took everything there. And so, yeah, like I said, I mean, we just don't have a great option, because I'm kind of, like what Scott was talking about, I mean, I'm kind of hamstrung too. Because if I pick them up and go dump them somewhere, then I'm in violation of our own, rules and whatnot.
But yet, when they're out there now, you can buy a tag for them or get a tag for them from you guys. So really, they're your responsibility.
Well, so, yeah, and I'm kind of surprised, so,
That's
and
what
and
you
Scott,
think
or, is Scott still on the line there?
Yeah.
Okay, are you seeing as many, still, Scott, with like the, roadkill permit? Are you guys still having to pick up this many, or has that, helped a little bit?
We don't even, like with vehicle versus deer, I've seen a handful where people do salvage permits, but I'm talking about deer that have been down or, stuck in a fence for 2 or 3 days that you're not going to salvage. It's just the way it is, so. We don't even deal with the ones on state right away. I basically, if they're on the side of the road, I just throw them off further in the ditch and let the crows have them, but that's kind of what we got going on, so.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it'd be good if we could, kind of develop a solution. I read like when that last site had closed down, that it closed down due to location. So I don't know if there's potential to do another type of site at a different location or something like that. Cause I know on Halloween this year, I had a call about a report of a grizzly bear just outside of Drummond. And so it was dragging a deer that had been hit by a car down into the bushes there, just outside of town. So I, wound up responding and set a trap for it and stuff. We never caught it. But some of those things like that, I mean, we are having more and more grizzlies, show up in the area, and, that could be a way to try to keep them away from people. And I mean, I think there's the need to with livestock as well. I mean, we definitely have a need to try to get some of these animals off the landscape. I think that helps. I mean, my main concern too is obviously human safety, but producers as a whole. I mean, if I can help people prevent loss there, I mean, that's putting money back in their pocket. And so one of the most beneficial ways to do that is just pick up carcasses and get them off the landscape. And again, I'm kind of shifting gears. I'm talking about livestock there, but just in general, if they're out there, I mean, bears are gonna be looking for them.
Well, we tried to set up another site, but then it didn't work out, the neighbors didn't want us. See, that's the problem, and then
Sure.
when you get into that amity of trying to get fish and game, they always tell us, no, you can't, they won't help another government act.
They thought, COVID kind of screwed it up, but that Jonko was gonna get a hold of the prison and see if we could get something worked out there. I mean, that's
Yeah.
a perfect place for it. They have the equipment, they have the land,
Yep.
everything else. And so I think we ought to push on that. Because we need a place with the grizzly bears coming in, and we gotta get something done.
Sure, and I can't speak for that. I don't know, I just don't know what the status is there. But I'll try to, get some information on where that's headed, if that's still in the works or not. Yeah, I mean, I think that'd be great. Ideally, it'd be nice if we could have a site, like I said, that we could do both, because there's a need for, picking up wild animals as well as livestock, and it kind of make the most sense to, rather than punch a well in 2 places and get electric in 2 places and equipment and everything else, it'd be kind of nice if you could just do it in one spot, But anyway, so, yeah, like I said, I was asked to be here today, so. Wanted to visit
Will you
that.
get a hold of Jonko then to see where he's gone with that?
Yeah, and
He was supposed to get back with us, we never heard anything.
COVID screwed everything up.
Sure.
That was before COVID.
Sure.
Right before.
Yeah, and so like for me too, I mean, I live, just north of town here. It would be super easy for me. I mean, just you know, when I was here before. Taking stuff to Drummond, I mean, it's nice, cause that's basically on my way home with almost any drainage that I wind up, you know, running up. So that would be pretty beneficial for me. I mean, if it's over in Deer Lodge, you know, I'm just having to drive an extra hour to do it, which is fine. I'm just gonna run out of, you know, money and stuff like that a little quicker. And maybe the alternative is trying to set up, you know, get an alternative funding source for a driver or something like that, somebody local out of there. So they're not having to add a drive time or something. But, I mean, I visited with Rex Radke a little bit about potentially, you know, him housing the site. I mean, this is like very preliminary. You would have to, you know, obviously sign off on everything, agree with it, but you know, he offered to potentially do something on his ground there.
We set it up and started doing it, the neighbors had it fixed, cause nobody got hold of it.
Is that the one?
Yeah.
So which neighbors just out?
Big Knolls,
Oh, okay.
they were
Yeah,
really upset because they were fortified and they don't want that smell.
didn't want it there. Okay. That makes sense. I mean, and that's the thing too is, you know, maybe there's an alternative site in Grand County, maybe between, you know,
That
some of
cost
the.
us some money, cause you had to go back out and clean all of it up, what we set up,
Sure.
so that was a bad deal.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, maybe there's an alternative site between either, you know, DNRC or BLM or even some of our ground that we own. I mean, it's nice if a site's already developed, you know, like if it's a DOT site or something like that, just because a lot of times they'll already have power or well or something like that. But then you run into whether or not you're close to houses.
Cause Blackfoot Challenge is the one that paid for the well and stuff, and the drum and dump.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, I mean,
It was pretty good, but then it all started running down and then it flooded, it's just, no,
sure.
against having it there ever again. That draw just feeds it, and then you get a little high water, and next thing you know, you got all that running down. So you got the housing right there, and the gas station people were crying blue.
Yeah.
All that stink.
Yeah, and I don't think, I mean, yeah, I don't think an alternative location is a bad idea necessarily, just trying to figure out one that would work.
Out of
for
sight,
everyone.
out of mind, get it where it's not, you know, sitting where they drive up and see something upside down in there that stinks.
Right.
Get it where the only people.
That's the,
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there any other public comment on this?
Well, the watershed's gonna start having public meetings, so we can bring this up and kind of see if there's any volunteers with having it on their
Could
property.
you state your name?
Oh, yeah, Carly, right? Watershed group, sorry.
Yeah, I think if a guy does, it's gonna take a little bit again to get set up and have to find the right place and
yeah,
has to have somebody who maintain it the right way, yes. Just so we don't.
and that's hitting the nail on the head too, is it's, you know, it's man hours too, so it's taking that right person who's willing to. You know, take the time to keep it watered and stir it and stuff like that, so, cause if you do that, I mean, it is gonna smell a lot less than
Yeah,
if stuff is piling up. Cause yeah, if it's not done properly, I mean, it's gonna stink.
I think that's the biggest thing, and it's gotta be took care of, and gonna have to hire somebody to be there, and I don't know, it's gonna be 5 days a week, or. I mean, that's the problem, you're gonna get one deer come in a month, and here you're paying thousands of dollars out to have somebody sit there. That's the next thing, is where's the funds coming from?
And I
That's
don't,
where I'm saying that Fish and Game don't wanna, you know, they can't give another government. And the money, so.
Mhm.
I just went through it, so that's the problem, there's.
gotcha,
The county's gonna get stuck because you can pay for it,
sure,
we don't have the money in solid waste, no way,
yeah.
that's my opinion.
And I don't know too with John, you know, who was running the site before, I don't know like what time wise was going into that for him. As far as if it was, you
It
know,
all depends on when we got bombarded when all the cows died, and holy shit, there's got bones in there.
right,
We can't, you couldn't handle it.
right,
It's, you know, they show up, and we're not open Monday, and we show up here Tuesday morning, you got 20 dead cows.
sure,
What do you do?
yeah,
That's the problem, you start getting all this, and then if you're mixing the dead animals like your uncle said, you can't be doing that.
Yep.
They're right next, so it all feeds into that, I don't know, it's gonna be a tough one. not that I'm against it, but it's gotta be done right in the right spot.
Sure.
It takes some time.
Did you guys talk about the prison system being in?
Commissioner Hinkle did it. We're gonna have Yunkel and
Well, yeah.
Yeah, he's supposed to have looked into it, got back to it, and all that, we never heard.
Right, the CD also.
Brad will reach out to you, yeah.
Yeah, I can give you a call.
Alrighty, well, that's we should, a few minutes, is there any public comment on this? Jody Cutler called me last night, talking about it, so I'm just letting him know. Guys have any comments?
It's not a fun topic.
Well, on that note, being no public comment, I guess we'll move on to Mako. Thanks.
All right.
Thank you, thanks for coming.
Well,
Thank you.
Yep.
If being touch with us less, you kind of know what it's going out, but we kind of what we can do and.
Yeah,
Mention and talk to her. And,
I'll grab my business cards and give them to you guys. Stay back on it.
Sounds good, thanks.
Where do you want us?
Right here in the state.
Or the box. Let me look for water.
yeah.
Eric Price. Nice to meet you. Good to see you. Hi. Hi, sir. I brought Valley County Commissioner Greg Chilcutt with me too. I'll start.
We could ship them dead animals down.
It's in.
So, I don't know how much background we want on this, but the point of us coming up here is trying to kind of do a quick elevator speech, sales pitch on the local assistance, and travel consistency funds. And the assessment, the bill that you guys got for roughly 1% of that. I talked with the county attorney a little bit about it before, but there's a history, I think, that's important. And really, for me, it goes back to the first distribution of CARES Act funding, when the pandemic hit and the Fed started pouring money into local governments, pouring money into states for COVID response. They gave all the money for CARES Act to the state, which meant the counties that were the frontline folks during that pandemic had to go and ask for the state with their handout for being paid back for what should have been directly compensated impacts. You might pull your guys' annual financial report. It looks like you had about $28,000 of CARES Act funding that you got from the state by asking them, funneling back through you. Fast forward to ARPA, where money came directly from US Treasury to counties, because the administration figured out pretty soon after that, that getting money where it needs to get gotten to is not through the state, it's directly to the counties and local government. And then you all of a sudden should have got notice, I think you got notice, I think you made your request, there was an additional $2 million set aside for this county through the local assistance, travel consistency. That money doesn't come. It's not out of the generosity of the federal government, it's not because somebody back in DC is thinking about it, guys. It comes because there's been a ton of back office, quiet years of lobbying to make sure that both administrations and the agencies know when money needs to get to the locals, it should get to the locals directly. It really started this conversation about trying to build money and have an investment opportunity for counties into a public lands research center, started at least 2 years ago through our Western Interstate region. As Commissioner Chilcutt was coming through the chairs, he recently the president of the Western Interstate region. We started looking as a group about how to find a way to combat research and institutions that put all this money and effort into trying to show that public lands and public land counties get the benefit of recreation. And what we don't have as a country, and especially in the West, is we don't have any good research that says, hey, public lands are also a driver for that tourism that has a demand on infrastructure that's uncompensated for. Your roads, your emergency response, your volunteer fire, the infrastructure necessary to fund the recreating public lands, nobody ever studies that. You get like the Chamber of Commerce analysis that says when a tourist comes to your community, that dollar trickles through 5 or 6 times. But nobody does the analysis to say that you guys are the ones responsible for maintaining roads, emergency services, and access to those public lands. That's the point of this research center, is that we get Western states and Western counties to invest in this one-time investment to be able to have a neutral third-party research center that does the analysis necessary to continue to educate mostly folks on the East
about the need for things like PILT payments and direct funds to counties to compensate for the impacts that public lands has on our communities. That's where this all comes from, and then I'll turn it over to Commissioner Tugler.
Hey, thanks for having us. And this isn't anything but an investment in protecting our way of life, in my opinion. You guys are, I believe, hiring a natural resources person here. Is that what I've heard? Looking into it? No. So we hired one in Valley County, a forester, to help, and it's turning out a lot better than I'd even hoped in working with the forest and trying to get projects through that sort of thing. The problem is information, good information. And, you know, I've been doing this for a long time, 20 years. But finding that source of information that I know that there's a county in Colorado, Garfield County, Colorado, has one of the best natural resource use policies in the nation. And they've got oil and gas money. And they spent it to develop this policy. But because I know one of their commissioners, I had access to that. But if we don't know they're out there, we spend a lot of time trying to search out good information. We don't need to reinvent the wheel every time an issue comes up on public lands. And that's what we're trying to do. When this money that, as Eric said, didn't just happen. It wasn't some goodwill gesture. It's been a lot of work, much like PILT. If you're around in the 60s or 70s and 80s, PILT was being funded at about 60% of what's being funded up at now, and not time value of money. It was funded at about 60% of what the formula called for, the PILT formula. But it was because of the advocacy of commissioners from around the nation, NACO, MACO, WIR, going back saying this isn't right. And then of course we saw what happened in the 80s when environmental law took charge of our natural resource use. And we saw that 25% that we used to get off the gross receipts of the national forest plummet to nothing. And so in 2000, after several years of hard work by commissioners from around the nation, they started the Secure Rural School Community Self-Determination Act in 2000. And that was a short term. They told us very clearly, you have 5 years to develop a new economy based on your public lands. How the hell do you do that? You know, it just wasn't there. And we've been going back we go back every year, and we fight for at least maintaining some semblance of revenue to come into our public lands counties to offset those impacts that are generated by cutting public lands in our backyard. And as you're well aware, we share a border, and those public lands aren't cheap. And when fire comes in, and the firefighters from around the nation, God bless them, come in, there's impact, and we all feel it. When this money was identified, $1.5 billion, that's to public lands counties. Then it was very, very broad in its language, and they started playing games with it at Treasury. And we spent a lot of time and money going back and forth. Todd Devlin, you guys know Todd from Prairie County? He knows more about PILT than anybody in the nation, and I mean that literally. He rolled up his sleeves. We came up with basically a PILT formula to disperse those funds. And then all of a sudden we hear 11th hour that the administration's talking about doing per capita to all counties in the United States, which would have diluted down what we got. I mean, it would have been about $3 per capita. I think that would have meant to you guys and Ravalli County. So we made the effort. We flew back to DC and we made the argument. We cajoled and even threatened. That's not what the congressional intent was. It's very clear. At the end of the day, they did the right thing, and we're very thankful for that. But that right thing brings in $2 million to Granite County. And at the same time, we're trying to figure out how Granite County, Ravalli County, the counties, we're all mostly rural, we have these public lands. We don't have the resources that urban counties do. They don't have public lands. So to get that information and having a clearinghouse of information, I think is important. And it's something that this will be a legacy for this generation of commissioners. Because the money we generate from this will work off the earnings of that funding into the future, hopefully for decades and decades. And that's going to be dedicated to public lands research. Whether you're talking about natural resource use plans, whether you're talking about grazing, or you pick a topic that you have to deal with, wildland fire, mitigation, you name it. We're trying to have a one-stop shop. And if you haven't been, and I don't know if you've been on the NACO website or the NACO website, and you go into the resources tabs on the top of that, it's amazing the information you have, but guess what? There's not a lot on public lands. And that's what we're trying to fix. And the way I look at it, if I walked up to you and said, give you the ceremonial check for the lottery. So here's the check, but I'd like you to invest 1% back into make sure we keep winning the lottery. I'd like to think you do that, because that's what we're trying to do, is perpetuate and enhance the information we have out there.
So
I get long-winded.
how is it generating money?
Okay,
You get $328,000 a year in PILT payments. That money comes because of advocacy from county commissioners flying back to DC trying to educate the East senators.
look at the deficit position that our federal government's in. We all like to think they're going to start taking control of that, right?
We can't count on that bill. Because with the deficit. This morning, like. Right now we're paying for interest on the federal deficit. In the last 2 months, $103 billion. And by 2029, all that interest will eat up all social security payments. I mean, so the money's not gonna be there. So how are you gonna get the money if it's not there?
Well, here's one thing I think it's really important is that information, because as public, you go to the lumber store, you see the price of lumber. We've got, look out the window, right? We've got a ton of it. We don't have any mill infrastructure. We need to do, we as a country need to do a better job managing our resources.
But there's too many stopping it all the time. I mean, this natural resource, ain't not gonna stop that, cause they put a block on everything, that sale, yes, that they started in Gold Creek, and well, that took 7 years. And 3/4 of that wood shit. So now, what's this guy gonna do? How's he gonna go to a forester and say, you have to do it? I just, they don't.
Well,
that impact in.
how much have you talked to, say, Ravalli County, Gallatin County, Missoula County? About a natural resource use or policy or working together? That's what Mako brings to the table, obviously, is that advocacy, but this is that location, we can go in and we can take that advocacy and magnify our voice and have good information to do it. And we know that not every county looks at things the same way our two counties do. But we can pick and choose. This is gonna be information that's gonna be, I gotta tell you, the value of this is. And I'm pretty, I'll just say, I'm pretty cheap. I don't like to spend money. That goes against my natural values. And, but this is not spending to me, this is the best.
I don't know if it's, you know, I don't like the idea of hiring somebody just for when you got all this. People that live around here know everything, but yet you want to hire somebody that. I guess I don't understand that.
I'm not sure what you're talking about
Resource
hiring.
like that Kimball guy, what's he do?
Steve Kimball. And if you
This
call,
county's got so much wood that could be used, but
Oh, yeah, it's all falling down and rotten now.
well, you guys have a mill fairly close, Ravalli County's in a tough spot. We're a hell of a long ways from the mill. You guys are in a pretty good spot, but I guarantee if you call Steve Kimball, and I'll give you his number if you don't have it, and say, hey, we'd like to talk to you. He'll be here. And he's been really responsive to anybody that asks for his help. And
But what good was that do? Nothing happens.
well,
You know, it's still going down. I mean, the forest management is still going down. It's been going down for 20 years. And it's dead here. I mean, we used to have a vibrant, you know, timber economy here. You know, we had post and post. They won't even sell post and post there. You know, and
it's always blocked, it's always, there's some.
well, and you could do post and post sales, but they want to.
well, but here's what I don't want to hear is we wring our hands and say it sucks, things are terrible, it's not getting better. That's our job, I think. We need to make it better. That's our duty to the people we serve. And we may not be successful, but damn it, we gotta try. And this is the opportunity to give us better information to face that challenge.
So this, I mean, this money doesn't fund Kimball, and I would agree with Commissioner Chilcott. Kimball's been an asset for people that use it, call them up, have them get engaged in collaboratives. We've gotten wood out of the forest through that program, absolutely, yeah, you guys haven't, call it. And I don't know, I can't. make
Oh,
any
just a
promises.
little bit of wood, and then you go to the media and they build it up and say, oh, look what we did, you know, and you know, and like, oh, we're really doing forest management, and they ain't doing nothing. You know, I mean, he's an ex-logger, he had a cable outfit, you know, and we kind of know what the deal is with timber.
I get you, I grew up. Timber
Well, that's
too.
the thing, you got, what, 3-4 loggers left in Granite County, and you use their experience, they'll tell you everything. Charlie Parks, he's been there, Adam Parks, they go there, Sherman Anderson. I mean, just in our county, these guys went represented, but it's nothing's ever happened. And they even look like, you know, here they spend all this money, they went to Washington, what'd they get? Nothing.
But all I can say is we have a choice here. We can either throw our hands up, say, well, we're screwed. Or we
We are.
continue to fight. And that's my nature besides being cheap is I'm willing to fight for this and have been fighting for it. And I'll first one to recognize it's frustrating and I'm frustrated, but
Okay, so what you're saying is that creating the center is going to give us, they're gonna take it and give us a bigger. I'm trying to say bigger area where they can fight for post and polling and.
they're gonna take information from, we just, like I said, we hired a worship. He did,
Ravalli County.
Ravalli County did, and in his first couple of months, he got a project handed to him by the foresters to take the lead on. It wasn't big, It's 135 acres. Well, we got 135 acres treated. And now he's working on bigger projects and he's only been there. I guess he's closing on.
What's it cost you here to have him?
Oh, we're spending money on.
That's what I'm
I
saying.
mean, he's full-time.
135 acres, the way they wanna cut is not. gonna pay.
But we're looking at several $1 million in contract funding given to us by foresters. Remember one thing is, we don't have near the hoops to go through the forest does. The Forest Service. And we can get projects through a lot easier. Steve Kimball can help you navigate some of the Good Neighbor Authority stewardship programs that reduce some of that bureaucracy and red tape that comes with the federal government that we can help with those.
You may get more federal grants.
No, get
No,
work
we're
done.
trapped to get projects done.
Get work done. And that's what we have to do. We have to demonstrate that counties can get this work done. And that's our commitment, is demonstrate we get the work done and move these projects forward and see if we can move the needle a little bit.
We pushed on stuff and they just don't go. And then I don't see where hiring somebody else to do the same thing that we've done is gonna do the same.
This isn't hiring somebody, this is hiring somebody to reach out to the Ravalli counties and the Garfield counties and these counties that are successful. And if you, grazing is another issue we've had over in Ravalli County that we've been really struggling with. And we can find, this is reaching out to all the counties, getting their plans and the litigation strategies, those sort of things, and getting that information in where you hopefully in the not too distant future, you can go on to the NACO website, go into this Explorer and say grazing on forest or grazing on BLM, and it will just, and I'm not a computer guy, long ways from it, but distill it down into a bunch of different plans that you could review and say, oh, this kind of fits our need or our desire. Let's use this as a template, because that's the thing we spend a lot of time on, is reinventing the wheel. And I think that's inefficient. And if we find people who are successful, that's.
But I mean, it's spending 20,000, that's what you're asking, so $20,000 is what we're gonna get out of it, besides what we're getting right now.
You won't get what we're offering, which we're not getting. If you go on now, you'll find very, very limited natural resource, public lands.
Just so hard to give that out, though, but I don't know.
I get that. I get it. We're putting out $57,000, I think.
Yeah, our ticket is $1 million for the state of Montana to buy in.
So I noticed a couple of things that Anaconda Deer Lodge and Butte Silver Bowl were not charged for this on that list. Why's that?
They don't get any local assistance, tribal consistency funds, because the treasury kind of hosed them out of eligibility. They determined them to be cities and counties. So
But they get pilled.
They were excluded. They do get pilled.
Yeah.
They also got-
And it said that this $20,000 was based on the percentage of pill.
Public lands, population, and economy. That's the formula of the treasury. But they're ineligible. They got 2 payments in ARPA and none in local assistance.
Well, here's my point with pill. I think we are getting screwed on pill because it's based on population and we got 70% federal lands in this county. And Anaconda Deer Lodge get more pill than we do.
Here's 708,000 acres of public lands here, federally eligible public lands here, and they got way less, and they get way more money.
And they what?
They get way more money. That bill formula is skewed in certain cases. for population.
Exactly. So then you want us to give $20,000 and they don't even have to pay $20,000. Anaconda Deer Lodge.
Are they appealing that or what? Okay. so
Tucker's got a bill in right now to try and make it eligible. I don't think it's gonna pass in time.
They got to kind of, this is my opinion, double dip on the ARPA. They did the CARES Act because they got the county money, they got the city money, and I think that was. So it's for me to generate a whole lot of sympathy in this specific.
Still, my point is, they get pill.
Yeah.
This was supposed to be based on the percentage of pill. And then they don't have to pay.
I'm happy to ask them for a pay. If that would make you happier, I'm happy to do it.
You're gonna ask all you want, but it's gotta get a full pound.
Well, and that's my fear is we.
Not that it's.
And here's another thing, a point I want to bring out, that we're the only county in the country that has a dam, and we have to maintain that dam. And we put $200,000 of the public's money into that dam for maintenance.
Oh, you own the dam?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so,
I say,
and
we have
so
dams.
it's like owning a boat, it's just, we just keep pouring money in it, okay? So we've taken pill and propped up that dam. So now you guys want $20,000 worth of our pill that we don't have, and we gotta, you know, we got a problem here.
Well, we do, and there've been counties that, not only, I mean, there's been counties in Montana that are part of they're forested counties. There's a small assessment that comes off of the forest counties that you pay, and we appreciate that. There have been those that haven't contributed that, but guess what? They get the benefit because we go back and do the work anyway. And if we do work on public lands, everybody that has public lands is going to benefit from it. And that's one of my values is I want to, if I'm going to partake in the benefit, I want to contribute my fair share. And that's what I'm asking is that we all contribute a little bit. Again, we're handing a lottery check of $2 million and we want to be able to continue to come up with those kind of successes. And we're asking for a penny on a dollar to continue the work that we're doing in it and make it better and give us a better product to people we serve in the next counties and constituents. Because it wasn't easy for me. I mean, I looked at that $11,000 requirement out of Valley County. But for me, and we all have different values. To me, it's not really the right thing to do, it's a fair thing.
Any other counties taking a hard look at this?
You're not the only one questioning, I'm going to Park County next, after you do. I'll tell you the list of people that have been so far. Beaverhead, Broadwater, Carter, Fergus, Gallon, Garfield, Judith, Lake, Mar, Petroleum, Phillips, Powell, Valley, Richmond, Rosebud, Sheridan, Tool, and Yellowstone have all sent checks.
You know what?
Sent checks in. They've already paid.
What happens if we don't?
Nothing.
No, this is,
Maybe it's something that you should see what if it's gonna work before you take all this money.
Madison County said that they cut a check if more than 51% of the counties opted in, so they wanted to see if there was enough buy-in from the state before they committed.
and here's the thing, the business side of it is to make this work as we envision it for generations to come of commissioners. We don't want to spend the money. We want to spend the earnings. And if we end up with, you know, half or a quarter of what we're projecting, it'll be gone in fairly short time. I don't know what the time is, because we all know the startup is the expensive part. And once the startup is going, we think that this is.
So this is a one-time deal, you said?
Yes. And I'm holding
Then how
money,
does it keep going?
interest off of the 15 million we're trying to generate nationwide. So we'll spin off about 300,000. That's what's going to be used for the research. We'll keep the 15 million or whatever that lump sum is whole and only use the interest earnings.
I don't know. Well, to me, it seems like we're making it work for somebody.
Hey,
That we already have delegates there and representatives there and everything, and now all of a sudden we're making another job.
but then, if you think about like your job, right? Our job is the same way. One day we're talking about ambulances and grazing, the next day we're talking about potholes and landfills and. I can't imagine what Congress does and looks at on a daily basis. If you look at the NACO website and you go into their Explorer, and I encourage you to do it in the NACO website and look at resources. We're asking for one focused endeavor on public lands, period. We don't want you looking at the other demographics. We don't want you looking at traffic. We don't want you looking at public lands issues. And we want you to gather all the data, all the information you can, all the plans, policies, procedures, best management practices.
A lot of this public ground though is locked up, you can't get to it, so I don't know how you can base it on, you know, these are landlocked places here then.
We're fighting.
How do
That's
you,
right.
or I mean, it's not gonna do no, you can fight as hard as you want, when them guys that own the land tell you. No,
Well,
that's the next thing, cause everybody's getting, these guys are coming in and buying, they buy a section here, but they're actually getting the state forest service and everything else, and then it's shut off from you, so how you gonna ever log it? You're not.
That's the reason we need to do this.
So if this is a nationwide thing, how are we gonna, how is little Granite County, how are they gonna protect our interests? If, you know, I mean, it's a whole great big thing, it's just gonna be a big bureaucratic,
Okay, so,
you know, thank you, cause you know, we got our little.
so this is
Needs.
one thing, the center, is this like a think tank that's gonna do county profiles on NACO Nation and Montana NACO? And then we're gonna be able to get in there and access to help us as a county see how other counties have done.
That's exactly it. If you're looking to,
And but what, how does it protect us? We're gonna see how, and then we'll go to our county attorney and say, this is how they're doing it here. So can we do this?
Can also see that information going to Representatives Rosendale and Zinke and the senators, and then they can, what you're saying is then they take it to their cohorts and say, this is why we need this, is what I think you're.
I think
saying.
that's a great time, and back to Mr. Chairman, your comment. If you think your congressional delegation does a great job advocating for you, I would agree with it, that you, but if you think that they're influential with Eastern Montana senators and House members, they're not. When we go to their offices, even on the Senate side, and say, we need you to do this, the first response is, how can you get, what can NACO do to convince other congressmen and senators to do that? That's the kind of information that we give.
Eastern Montana or Eastern
Eastern
US, okay.
And to your point, the whole idea of the research center is to be able to get that information out in a way that is meaningful. But driven by the West, so that board that governs the research that they're spitting out is gonna be like Chilcott. Commissioner Chilcott and I, a commissioner in California and a state exec in Arizona are the four people picked nationally to put this thing together. So when we get to drive the research, it's gonna be driven by the Western Interstate region. Guiding the research that's spit out there specifically for Western public lands counties. And that's the structure of the governance of this entity. So if you're not gonna get lost in a bureaucratic nightmare, it's gonna be four commissioners from the West spearheading the research that comes out of here.
when we talk about the, what comes out of it, where do we get killed on the forest projects in? On a forest project, a proposed project, where do we get killed? It's always in the EA or EIS, right? And how many times have you written, the socioeconomic impact part of that document for the forest or had a big part of that? Probably not very often or at all.
I started writing NEPA documents when it first came out, like 73.
I wish you were still writing.
Huh?
I wish you were still writing.
Me too, me too.
You know, I read one about 10 years ago or something like that. It was on, right, not right here, but another place. Anyway, I read that thing as a NEPA document. And I said to my wife, I said, you know, either this person or these people are really stupid, or they want to be sued. They want to have this thing sued. You know, 'cause it was ridiculous.
Yeah, and I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but I'm saying we can get the information from this center to help us write a better document.
So I have one question on your comment, the $2 million that we received.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that money we should have been receiving prior and it's been sitting out there in la la land? Or is that something that,
Treasury sat on it for about 11 months and 29 days and made it eligible for you to receive on the last day that Congress told them they had to distribute it. And they were trying to formulate the rules, as Commissioner Chilcott talked about. It was the Montana delegation that got mad at Treasury when we were in DC, threatened to sue them, got others, Washington State in particular, angry with us. Marched up to Treasury and had them convinced within the last 5 days that they had to release the funds to revert back to the formula that Devlin wrote, primarily distributed based on public lands counties. It had been sitting there for a year because Treasury was trying to give it to everybody.
Wasn't that from COVID or something, or?
It was buried in ARPA.
In ARPA.
Yeah.
In ARPA.
You have to do the same thing with infrastructure, is that just sitting there too, or are they doing something?
Whole different subject.
Oh,
That is mired in some bureaucratic.
Oh, okay.
But if it
Sorry.
hadn't been for that advocacy, that would have been just down to nothing.
after your discussion, looking at this, I don't know, is it a good investment for Granite County?
I think I have to think about it more. I mean,
I'd like to know a little more about it too. I mean, I just don't, I know what you're trying to do, but damn, it's hard to spend that money when you don't have the money.
I hear what you're saying.
we're making a job for somebody, but it's not even guaranteed that,
help us.
yeah.
I like what Madison did on the other people are gonna join up and we're gonna be successful. That's something to think about too. They
So-
said 51%.
Yeah, so logistically, with or without that, I'm holding all the checks. I'm not cashing them, I'm not sending them off to NACO. I'm not gonna, I'm holding them there until we get a no-go decision from the National Association. They're trying to generate 15 million. I think they'd be happy with 10. I think if only 7's there, probably I'm gonna give all the money back to the county. So there's a decision point sometime in the future. And what I need from our members is a commitment that you're considering triggers that might make you in or an opt-out. That's what the three kind of options are. And you don't have to decide right now.
There's some more stuff I think person should be looking into, in my opinion, I'm just.
Yeah, you don't need to answer
Nope.
today or next
No.
several weeks probably or.
No, but we're just, I wrote we're trying to advance the study of policies and best practices, increase the research and improve learning networks for America's public lands counties. That's a mouthful, but that's really what we're trying to do. We're trying to make us more successful when we go to the table with the federal government on public lands, and even frankly, the state. But Montana's been a great partner. DNRC's been.
But how are you gonna influence that when, it's all, their agenda is all set in Washington DC anyway? I mean, so how are you gonna change their minds?
What's our option though? I mean, Chuck, our option is to let it continue to get worse. Or our option is to roll
Can't
over.
get much worse here.
Don't say that. That sounds like you're testing.
Yeah, I mean,
They can't, they wouldn't, the last timber sale they put up.
I'd like to think there's enough of us out there that are willing to roll up our sleeves and go to war over what's right.
So
Than to turn around.
I'll say
and
this
walk away.
The Fed policy is not gonna change because Granite County doesn't like the current status of your timber industry. It's not gonna change because of that. It's only gonna change if we have a national research center spitting out information to be able to argue with environmentalists and convince policymakers that active forest management needs to happen for places like Granite County. We'll use you as an example, but you're not gonna be able to influence national politics without something like this. And investing in something like this is the. It's that simple.
That's the
No,
best
I
way
get
you
the point.
see about influencing
Yes.
the senators in DC.
And I get props-
Are they the same people that are gonna sit there and praise the firefighters? Because I have not much praise for the firefighters myself. When they light thousands of acres on these and burn 200,000 acres on a district. I ain't got no praise for them, I mean. I could get into this.
Well, and that's a double-edged sword, right? I mean, we had that fire roaring line that we were very thankful that they showed up the way they did because we lost a lot of homes anyway, but they saved a lot of homes. And that's not the point of this. The point is, I'm not willing to give up, but to do it, it's gonna take a big voice and a lot of voices to overcome what we're facing and what we've been facing.
Well, they keep bringing up, you got the lynch, you got the bulls out, all that, how you gonna get by all that? You're not.
Well, we made some,
I mean, they got
ESA's
so
been a
many
real problem,
negatives.
right?
They got so many negatives against us, we're gonna spend time and time, what we've already fought for years. And we haven't got by it yet, so how the hell are we gonna get by it? I mean, then they're gonna bring more wilderness, and they just keep doing that. So who stops that?
Wouldn't you agree that the silent majority is exactly that, and we're not being heard on endangered species, Equal Access to Justice Act, NEPA reform? I believe there's a hell of a lot more of us out there than Congress knows about. This is a way to make our voices heard. And I'll be honest, I've been back, Governor Gianforte back then, Congressman Gianforte brought a bill to do the wilderness study area release, right? I went back and testified on that. Who helped with all of that research and background? NACO. I went back and testified on active forest management. Who helped me with all that testimony? NACO. And they do the research, but the problem is it's not a place that we can all easily access it. And if we can do that and make our voices louder and more professional, You said. I get angry and I'll yell and I'll do stupid things, but if we have good data, we can at least yell with the right data.
I'm not saying you're not doing a good job on delegating us, but it just seems like you're beating your head against. We just.
What is that there?
I mean, they just keep coming up with more stuff against us than to.
You can't argue with an environmentalist.
I mean, they put these,
You can't reason with
no, they stop stuff and there's no way, but there's no. I mean, they know what we're gonna say and I don't know, I'm just frustrated with the way the feds are.
Congress trying to keep their jobs. And if we can demonstrate to them that there's more of us than them. I have to hope, otherwise. What do we got? And it's gonna take work and it's gonna take advocacy and good information.
One thing is, I mean, there are some swing senators. I mean, you got the Manchin and Arizona one, so potentially it could have an effect on them, I can see.
The education part has a huge, when we go out to DC for our Let's conference, we spend most of our time as Montana and Western folks visiting with Eastern representative and Senate office, telling them about public lands and what public lands mean and the burden that public lands has in the West. They think of you, they look at us out here like vacation rentals in Yellowstone, the TV show. They have no concept of what it means to have search and rescue volunteers responding to idiots falling off of rocks, recreating in our forests. They don't have any concept. And what we do is tell anecdotal stories like that. We don't have the professional information to send over and give to them to say, no, public lands cost county and property taxpayers money. We don't have that.
And it's hard for them to understand. McGinley out of Beaver County, you have school districts that's larger than Connecticut. They have no concept. But it's pretty fun to tell them. About their eyes get wide. And that's what, again, I get what you're saying. It's a lot of money. I get what you're saying, that you can find better uses for that in, tomorrow when they're trying to get rid of you. Dead deer, but this money was never anticipated. It's all unanticipated revenue. And we're just asking for that 1% to help foster the message we, the West especially, needs to take to.
How do you apply for this job?
You gotta, I think you have to have some pretty good computer skills.
You're thinking, so just in a nutshell, kind of, you're thinking that instead of a kitten's mew, we're gonna have a roar with this, be able to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Am I saying it
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Where now we're like a little kitten with a mew or meow. And you're thinking that this will give us a roar. I mean, I understand if we can. Get this roar, yeah, I guess it would be worth it for Granite County. For example, would this be something where we could go, okay, we have all these posts and polls. We wanna utilize them. Roar, you see what I mean?
Yes.
But they could do that if they want to do it anyway.
Who's the
They
they?
could just go do it.
Oh,
Yeah, they're not.
but they won't,
Right.
so our roar would be there.
They're not gonna.
Guys, yeah.
They're not gonna because you asked, they're not gonna because Montana asked, but they might because the nation asks. And I can't promise you, this is a total bet on the come request. I can't promise you that we're gonna be successful with this, and I wouldn't lie to you and promise that we're gonna be. But I think it's worth the effort to try.
I see where it affects.
Gamble,
I don't wanna call it a gamble, but let me ask you this, when did you know 2 million was coming for your local assistance?
Yeah.
direct assistance?
yeah,
But we were happy to get it.
It fell down from the sky on your laps.
Yeah.
You didn't have the years of work that went into getting that.
right,
And that's,
And we're asking for 20,000 investment for the 2 million that dropped in your lap without you guys.
They're a hell of a car show.
Sales.
So I keep going on and I'm like, holy shit.
The ones I see this affecting are the moderate senators and representatives. I see this. If like you say, if they're already extreme, in their thinking, it's not gonna affect them, but the moderate ones. It's gonna affect them. Yeah, it's gonna be, she's not even giving them the time of day, but.
There was a lot of work that went into this. There's a lot of work that keeps PILT coming. There's a lot of work that keeps the SRS funding coming, and I get your frustration. Todd Devlin, Prairie County and Ravalli County, we're good friends, and he complains to me all the time about the disparity in what we get per acre. You guys are being on God's side on that.
Great,
I
it's
get it.
200,000 uphill.
So I understand that, but if we weren't back there fighting for it, it would be less. No matter what, it would be less if we weren't out doing that. And this is just recognizing that and upping our game.
You know, I think you're gonna have to look at it a little more. I'm not making a call today.
Come on,
It's not.
I'm not preferring the sales either. If you need more information, call me.
Yeah, you know. I just think there's, yeah, it's just hard to, you know, throw 20 grand out of people's money when it's so hurting anyway,
especially when we need it. You know. But I appreciate what you're doing. I mean,
No.
you know, it's
but it's a good deal.
Yeah, you're not giving up.
No,
We
we gotta
fight.
fight. If we don't fight, then let's go home. You know, and that's what we need. It's
but
just-
there's a fight and then there's a fight. And then, like I say, when people start praising what they're doing, that, you know, like the Thompson Creek fire, or Thorn Creek fire at Thompson Falls a couple years ago. Dropping ping pong balls out of the helicopters to burn my acres. Nice to me.
Well, and see, I don't know a hell of a lot about fire science. But if we're successful in this, I can probably go on there, on that website, into that public lands website and find out about different ways they fight fire, different options. I don't know that now.
I guess, you know, it's all right for support, but are we gonna be forgotten? Seems like us small counties, all of a sudden, they get us, you know, into something like this, and then we never ever hear or see.
You
like
can't
that
be
Jim
forgotten.
does not. I mean, we shouldn't have to go beg him to come see him. He'd come in here and say he's been recommending us and be back. He never has. Stuff like that. People want us to do stuff, but then all of a sudden, who are you?
Well, I talk to Steve regularly. I do when I call him, and this, I really encourage you to probably May, June, somewhere in there, the Forest County Summit. I really encourage you to come to that. It's good information, and you hear, we'll have forest supervisors there, Leanne Martin will be there, the DNRC will be there. And you can ask a question, you may not get the answer you like, but at least you have the opportunity to face drag.
And don't get me into this.
But if we don't fight, if we don't step
That,
up.
I know what you're saying. But, well, we better move on. Yeah.
Thank you guys. for
Yeah,
that.
yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Good to meet you. in
Yeah,
person.
that's me, yeah.
Good seeing you.
Thank you for coming.
No, guys. Okay.
You can hear the voice.
Okay.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you, guys.
Too bad. Thanks for having us.
Very public comment on that, so
I just got my new number.
Oh, thank you.
thank you. Sorry, to make you sit there.
Oh, that's all right.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yep.
We'll see you.
Have a good one.
See you, but thanks.
Yeah, then.
We'll go into the claims. Claims? Oh, yeah.
What time?
Whenever.
You guys get out at lunch at 11?
No, they have work at 11.
Oh, they do? Oh,
I don't know how long that call's gonna take. Here's what Kelsey sent me.
oh.
I'll put it. I have extras on-
Learn about all the things they've got to do.
There you go. Yeah. It was just supposed to be, I thought, over the owner's site inspection, but she sent me that yesterday.
Fun time. Jeremiah gonna be on?
Jonathan's coming in.
Okay.
Mhm.
In person.
Yeah, because we did our thing in the lab, our inspection one.
went and picked up the ham. Thanks for the Christmas ham. Looks good. It's
Big.
yeah. Yeah, it was a big one we got. The truck came in yesterday, so yeah. Fresh off the truck.
Yep, but it said she went down, she's like, I picked them all up right there, and I was loading them in cars.
So we got Rising Sun case on Monday. We got all the witnesses lined up. Bob Church from Great West will be the main one. I mean, it's pretty cut and dry, but
Is that here?
yeah, be in person. Probably a day's worth of testimony for the county and probably half a day on Tuesday for McLeod. Yeah, but it's if there is anything slam dunk, this is it. I mean, he could still appeal, but it's have to be over a legal, like an evidentiary issue to be the appeal.
So why do we rent a D7 when we were?
Build on that road.
Oh,
Post service road down there.
So got
Cheaper to go that route than get on ourselves and try to figure somebody to run.
get fully reimbursed, right?
I need to see what they paid.
That was kind of, that's when they put in, remember we had them put the bids in for dozer work and stuff that we need in.
Yeah. Well, speaking of, I probably should, if you're gonna do the trucks again,
What?
if you're gonna bid out trucks again for if as needed for 23, well, then on the agenda, like
you know what?
Trucks.
dump
for
trucks
mowing.
and
Oh,
other,
dump trucks?
yeah,
Oh, yeah, that's right.
probably just for
So like Bob Weaver construction was 4,000 for the D7 rental. And then 1,000 for mobilization. Does that mean?
to get it on.
Well, we're bringing it in and hauling it out. Same as like.
Fourth or 11th.
Charges for that gravel pit. They all charge.
Third or 10th, you mean?
Oh, yeah, Ron, yeah. Third.
I'll send it to you. There's 3 resolutions I put on.
Did I send you those yet?
You sent them to me last year and I saved them.
All right, I've got it pre-done.
You remember them, and then I put the nuisance dog ordinance on there, right? You sent me a dog ordinance on last year.
Yeah, it doesn't, I think it's done every fall.
Okay.
Yeah, could be in
Okay.
September. Or did we do it yet? Did we do it this fall?
We did, it says 20. Let me look. Some people get it, but shit. No, right. I have to go searching for it. I don't know it.
If we didn't do it, then it could potentially be on the agenda here
Yeah.
next week. It would just be 2022-1 business time.
Yeah, because I think I don't think we've done it this year.
I'll go look.
Yeah, I don't think so. I'm 90% sure we haven't, I think it's 2021 is what I have.
Go off, really?
Yeah.
What?
All right, we're back on, it's not quite 11 yet, we're in the monthly claim review and approval.
Yeah, it's very fancy.
He said there's an end, he said.
Seems reasonable.
Thing.
Oh, here,
I was just kidding.
did you see this from Kelsey? The agenda
Yeah.
was made for the call.
Kelsey's no longer gonna be the contact.
Hurry.
Where's your ranch at?
I don't know.
Okay. That's where you grew up?
Kind of. My family, I'm 5th generation out there, but we lived in town. as a kid.
Mhm.
My grandparents lived out there and I went to school. I left when I was like in high school and then I lived in Idaho and went to school over there and lived in Boise for a number of years and then I got divorced and moved back.
Mhm.
Moved out to the range.
Okay.
Mine is HDR engineering, what's a FCD, Flint Creek Dam fault? They're
It's the first invoice for the PGA analysis that we've gotten.
HDR ended up doing that?
Mhm.
All right, we're a couple minutes early, but we're going, are they on there yet?
I don't see them yet.
Okay. Let me know when they're- What do you got? That's we'll go ahead and start on this Flint Creek Dam owner site inspection review call with first discussion. Do we need to call them or they?
Yep. They'll be getting on via Zoom and we should be having. For this, Kelsey will be on and I believe she'll be kind of leading.
I think it was that temporary link that was the gate, that wire that never got fixed and that other
Here she
thing, but it's fixed, Blackwood fixed it, but it wasn't there either.
Oh, it wasn't?
So-
It was Century.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, I guess maybe a person should write, we could write them a letter and say if they're gonna. Do that stuff, that they're gonna put it back as is, I mean, cutting that fence and bending it around and leaving it open. I didn't know since relief was up to work, I guess I don't remember. Well, they-
Kelsey's connecting right now.
So you said it has been repaired now?
Yeah.
Oh, by Blackwood. But send,
Cause we accused Blackwood of doing it.
Yeah.
They didn't do it. Century.
oh, okay.
I didn't want to.
Is there two wires in the conduit maybe?
Well, it's something we're gonna find out, because we've been offering that too, just let people use. I didn't know.
Don't know what's in it. Did they fix where it had separated also?
And I guess they wired, I haven't made it up there, but they took and I wired it back together and then fixed that everything, so.
Okay.
What Blackwood said.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
Kelsey on?
yep, we have Kelsey and Kareem and Jeremiah are all on Zoom, and I made them all co-hosts, so you guys should all be able to mute and unmute as you need to.
Great, thank you. Are we ready to get started?
Yep, we're waiting, go ahead.
All right, that sounds good. Okay, well, first of all, thanks so much. I know it was another year, and shame that I didn't get out to see the project. I guess what will end up being the last time. So, or what would have been the last time. So, for those of you who don't know me, and I don't know how many folks on the call don't. I think I know most of you. I'm Kelsey Adamek, and I'm the FERC engineer, and I am passing the baton as of last week to Kareem Bino, who is a staff engineer at our office. Kareem's great, so I know you'll be in good hands. I'll still be around, and I'll still be doing some of the reviews for some of the older items, but yeah, welcome, Kareem. Yeah, you want to say hi quickly, Kareem?
Yeah, good morning, everybody. I'm Kareem Bino, so I'm looking forward to working with you on this project and taking over from Kelsey. I know Kelsey's been doing a great job the last couple of years. She's doing a great job of transitioning over to me, so looking forward to getting to know all of y'all and working with you going forward.
Okay, nice meeting you. I guess we can go ahead and move on with this and see what.
Yeah. Yeah, so I sent out a rough agenda that's just some general items to go through. It is kind of long, so I wanted to start by just saying, so this is consistent with the call that we had a couple 2 years ago in 2020. So if you recall, the idea is that we're trying to talk about basically everything that's going on with your project, similar to how we might have discussions during a dam safety inspection, and also talk through the report that you guys sent on based on your November 15th inspection this year. So thank you for doing that. And also just as a baseline, congratulations. I know you've gotten quite a bit done in the last year, or since the last time we talked. So just want to say thank you for recent completion tasks, including sending in the 2021 Part 12 report, conducting your emergency action plan functional exercise this summer, submitting the ODSP external audit report, and most recently sending us notification of the recent seismic event with your dam tenders follow-up. So thank you for all of those things. Those are very, very much appreciated. And I guess starting with your owner's inspection report, yeah, so this is the report that you, the form that you completed based on the report outline we sent. Thank you for doing that. I know it sounded like you were snowed out briefly, so I understand that the site photos are covered in snow, and also what we see is, you know, a lot of snow, and that's how it is for this time of the year. Noted. Couple questions though. I know the report, you're saying that the dam tender reported that piezometers were not monitored in 2022. I was just wondering what is going on with monitoring, instrumentation monitoring at the project. Are things not being monitored, or where are we at with that?
Do you want me to answer that?
Yeah, that's
Um,
hard to understand her.
So during that inspection, we did find out that our dam tender was not necessarily monitoring the piezometers as often as they were supposed to be monitored. Which we have corrected, and he has been submitting photos now of when it is being monitored, and he did check them out at the seismic event. And we did have him reach out to Jonathan, who is here, and kind of talk a little bit about when and how to monitor those.
Did you see all them pictures?
No, I haven't sent those to him, but I can. We got those today.
Yeah, Kelsey, this is Jonathan. We did, I did talk to Brandon and just was able to reinforce the monitoring schedule that we established. And so that was just a good educational opportunity to remind him of that responsibility. And typically that'll happen, you know, as they're accessible during the spring, summer, and fall months. And then in the winter, they're generally not accessible unless we have to get in there and measure them, like we did here recently with the seismic event.
So we're all good on
Okay.
that.
And oh, sorry, keep going.
No, I was asking where the pictures went. We have pictures of him, checking the piezometer.
Which time?
But go ahead.
Yeah, and I know, so one of the things that I plan to touch on later is a little bit with the DSSMRs, the monitoring reports. So, but I know one of the follow-up items in the past was we had some questions about measurements going on with the piezometers, specifically just like the depths looks like they were maybe inconsistent from previous reports, and that there had been some changes. I guess especially now that we're talking about piezometers, were there any resolutions with how the piezometers were being monitored, or adjustments that and fine-tunements that you made in talking with Brandon, I guess, especially Jonathan, as you were doing that?
I think just off the top of my head, remembering back to some of those irregularities, I think we attributed those to the fact that there was a crack in the piezometers, and that was allowing some of the material, the bentonite packing around the piezometers, to enter into them. And
I think that's an older issue, I hope.
okay, so you're referring to something else then?
Yeah, so yeah, we'll touch on that later then, I think, if that wasn't something that you talked about most recently. How about that?
Okay.
All right, sounds good. So I guess then one of the other things that the report mentioned is that the intake valves were not operated this year. I don't believe, and I haven't seen in the most recent Part 12, that there is an operation and maintenance schedule for the intake valve. Just wanted to make sure that that's still the case. And have you thought that maybe it might make sense to have an operation and maintenance schedule to make sure that those valves are operated regularly?
That was
Hey, Jonathan, that's Jeremiah. I was just going to jump in. It's not included in the Part 12, but I think it would be warranted, just for everyone's sake, because we have noticed with just even getting into this, the piezometer readings. I mean, when we have turnover in staff of the dam tender, it would be nice to have kind of an operations and maintenance plan. You know, I think we just exercise those gates yearly, but just having that information, how to test the piezometers, so that way there's more of a seamless transition if there is dam tender changeover. You know, engineering staff or county commissioners, we all kind of know what's going on there. So I think it's warranted, yes. And it wouldn't be much to include that effort.
Okay, well, I will flag it and that can be something that you can carry forward as it makes sense on your schedule. And Kareem, let's make a note and you can follow up with that in the future. Then I noticed that there are a couple items that look like they're that they were following up from Part 12 recommendation items, specifically the idea to do a detailed inspection of the concrete outlet structure this summer. And it sounds like your plan is to have this technical narrative that's in the works, and it will also detail follow-up for collection vault for sediment at tile drains, and the plan schedule for, or sorry, the updated item that we talked about thickness testing for the intake pipes that was based on our letter. Is that still in the works, and what is the schedule for that?
Yep, we completed the inspection last fall, so we're just kind of working through the process. We have not completed the thickness testing yet on those conduits, so that still needs to be completed. So we're looking at, I guess I don't have a final deliverable date, but spring of 23 for that report with our recommendations.
Okay. So I think that a lot of those items say that there would be design, bidding, and construction sequence provided by fall of 2023. Is that on track, or is that sort of something that might need to be adjusted if we get reports roughly in spring?
I will have to, I think it's likely going to have to be adjusted because depending on the outcome of that and the costs associated with any improvements that are warranted, the county's going to have to budget that in. And there's an opportunity to potentially pursue other grant funds there, but it may delay things. I think initially we are kind of anticipating maybe not much, or but I'm not really sure what is going to come out of the thickness testing. Hopefully nothing, and we can kind of move past that potential failure mode. But that if that's comprehensive, that's going to take some capital expenditure and some planning for anything there.
Okay. And that's fine. I guess I would just strongly recommend, just as you're staying on track, because that was a deadline that was proposed with the Part 12 follow-up. Please make sure that maybe when you send in your schedule in the spring, that you include an updated plan and schedule with new dates, so that as an extension of time update, so that we know where you're at with that, and that we can review that schedule and make sure that there's no issue with those dates. I don't know that there necessarily would be, but I guess the other thing then there is from what you saw last spring, last spring, I guess, and then it says like there's a August 8th, 2022 outlet inspection. Were there any major findings?
No, there was nothing significant when we did our inspection. And so we're just kind of working through that process now on, ultimately what our recommendations would be.
Okay, that sounds reasonable. And just to confirm, it was one inspection in August, not two, or were there two separate inspections so far?
No, there was two separate. We did the yearly inspection, but then we did a focused inspection just on the concrete seepage and the looking at the conduit outlets there, or the tile drain outlets, and what we could do for being able to put sediment traps on that. So there was just a focused inspection on those two.
Okay, and that was the August one, or that was in the spring?
Honestly, I don't remember the date when we were there.
Okay. Okay, but there were two separate inspections by Great West, and one was the specific one. Okay.
Yeah. Jonathan, when you were on site, it was the August inspection, right?
No, that's when Justin did the inspection of the concrete was August 8th, and then we did the annual inspection on November 15th.
Of this year, but, oh, never mind. Yep. So those are the dates, Kelsey. August for that and then November for the annual inspection.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you. And then I guess just to confirm, hopefully just to confirm, this year there are, other than, well, there was nothing unreported regarding safety of the project and project works this year. Just, you didn't see anything that was unreported?
No.
Okay. And no deaths, serious injuries, or rescues this year?
Not that I'm aware of, not related to the dam.
Okay. And then no modifications to the project this year?
No.
Cool, great, good. I mean, if any of those things happen, just let us know in advance, but you know, hopefully those are easy answers and and we don't get surprised, but do have to make sure. Okay, and then looking at construction, it looked like there were a couple items that were flagged in this report. And just wanted to make sure that we're aware of your planned construction coming up. And then again, as a reminder, when you do a construction submittal, or when you are planning to do construction, we want to know about it in advance. It's really best practice to let Kareem or I, or at this point Kareem, know as you know, as soon as possible, so he's aware of your intentions. And then we need to be able to have your plans and specifications, everything in advance of construction, for us to review at least 60 days before you start. And that 60 days is a minimum. So, you know, work with us and we'll do our best to make sure that we're not a holdup, but also just please be aware of that time horizon.
Unless it's an emergency.
And there was something there?
Unless it's emergency. If we had to jump on right away, get going, then we get all together.
Yeah, if it's an emergency, you do what you need to do and let us know as soon as practicable. And you know, we can work with you as much as possible, but and as much as appropriate. But yeah, if you're following up, you know, if your dam starts gushing water and you're trying to, you know, drop some sand or some material to slow it down, that's, you know, that's a little bit different than than other responses. But I guess as a side note, I wanted to talk about some of the FERC updates that we have as a commission, but one of the things, just again, to be aware of the current incident reporting that we have, just like make sure that we know about any condition affecting the safety of the project or project works, or death, serious injury, or rescue, or major changes to the project. And we want to know those incidents. We want to know promptly to our regional engineer, which is Doug Johnson, within 72 hours of discovery. And then, you know, then we're looking at, you know, if you're trying to make emergency updates at your project, presumably your EAP has been activated and you would already have contacted Doug or someone at our office in quick order. But yeah, I mean, if you're in a condition where you're trying to take emergency measures at the project, that's, you know, we're not trying to do plan reviews before you do that. But we do, you know, there might be situations where we would get involved if there's something that, you know, some kind of strong recommendation that we would have. I think that's pretty rare. You need to make sure that, you know, in a true emergency, that's something that you and your staff need to be as prepared as possible to handle independently, which is why we do all the emergency response. So yeah, thanks for that comment. Yeah, so I guess then the upcoming construction, I saw you were talking about doing the upstream gate on the low level outlet on the left of the dam. Is there something specific planned there, or is that what I should wait on for that, or what we should wait on for that spring 2023 technical narrative for?
Yeah, Kelsey, this is Jonathan. I don't think there's anything currently planned. It's just been on the list for a long time to figure out what kind of shape that upstream gate is in and figure out a plan for it, but there's not an immediate action item.
Okay. Okay, and just if there is, again, let us know in 60 days ahead of time, make sure that we have all the materials so we can get your approval and we're not a holdup. There was also some mention of roadway drainage and having an inlet on the downstream side of the lake. Are you talking about potentially adding another inlet from the roadway to the spillway, or what is that about?
Yeah, that's just another thing that's been on the radar for a while. No immediate plan, but yes, generally it would add another storm drain inlet on the road, but connecting to the same pipe that already discharges to the spillway. And that would just alleviate right now a lot of the roadway drainage. Kind of just falls off the road and directly enters the spillway. And that's led to the deterioration of the concrete right at the top of the spillway.
Okay. Yeah, I think that would be something potentially that should be coordinated with us. It may not be something that we would require a complete submittal on, but it could be. It's a little bit borderline, and that decision would need to be made by Doug Johnson. So please make sure that as you're planning that, let Kareem know, and it can just be an email so he can run it by Doug, an email with whatever design information that you have at that time.
Okay.
And then I know, so a couple years ago, we touched on any updates for the Wright Butterfly Gate. I know this wasn't in the form that you submitted, but the last I heard about it, it was something that you talked about with Montana DNRC, and then there were some updates, some mentions in the Part 12 report about exercising that butterfly valve regularly on the right side, and also talking about developing a plan for abandonment or replacement of that gate. Just kind of wanted to know if that's something that's in the works or on the horizon at all.
Jeremiah, do you want to take that one, or you want me to?
Go for it.
So that kind of has to do with that low level outlet that we mentioned in the inspection report, and we're hesitant to exercise the butterfly valve because we don't know what's upstream of it. Well, we know there's a deteriorated wood gate on the dam face, and we're worried if we open the butterfly valve, we could draw in some wood fragments from that gate and potentially not be able to close it. There's probably a lot of sediment that's accumulated. So there's no plan yet to exercise that gate, but currently it's not a dam safety risk. That gate is relatively new. I think it was installed maybe 10 years ago or 15 years ago. So really we need to figure out a plan for the upstream old timber gate first before we can think about exercising the butterfly valve.
I mean, I think that's appropriate. So has there been discussion of a plan for that timber gate at all? Or you were saying you're talking about it with the low level outlet. I'm wondering if it's maybe some of the discussion is similar with that and the left upstream outlet or not.
No, we've been treating it separate, and we haven't come up with a plan yet on that. We are more focused or identified, and then also that concrete seepage. So that's the study we're looking at now on what to do there. that control gate and the valve on the right side, we have not come up with a plan yet to address those.
Okay, and I know that wasn't an official part 12 recommendation, but it was sort of buried in the report and not explicitly called out. It's also been something that we've talked about quite a bit back and forth. So if there is, you know, like it's not going away, it's part of your project. So if that will probably come up at some point, make sure that it's in the back of your mind. As far as, you know, planning and thinking about things moving forward. It is related to a category 2 potential failure mode. It is potentially a concern of the project, and that's a watered pipeline through the dam. So, or I believe it's watered, yes.
Kelsey, in your opinion, is there value in maintaining that outlet? I mean, in my opinion, it's kind of a relic.
I mean,
past dam operations and doesn't really serve a purpose currently.
Yeah, to my knowledge, it's not used for project operations. It's not necessary for project operations for, you know, things like passing the PMF or other, you know, it's not included, I believe, in PMF operations. It's, you know, it was talked about a little bit in the, you know, the functional exercise before this last one. But yeah, I mean, unless you want it and unless there's value for, you know, emergency drawdown, like having a low level outlet is good, but there's also the low level outlet already on the left side. It seems like it's kind of a redundant, dangerous feature potentially. There could be some value if you wanted to preserve like additional outflow because you do have limited control of the project. But mostly I see it as potentially a risk because it's challenging to rely on it because you can't guarantee that you'll be able to open that upstream gate necessarily without equipment anyway. And you have a watered pipe that goes through your dam, which is more of a concern than like it's kind of more of a hazard than a benefit in my mind, but not using it doesn't mitigate the hazard.
Yeah, I think, and one of the discussions we had about that was, you know, potentially considering when we do address those deficiencies or take a further look at that is potential abandonment of that, because it's not operational right now. It is at risk of, or there's potential liability there, concerns with it. So there may be just consideration of how do we abandon it and not use that anymore.
Right, which could, I mean, and that could really include maybe sealing it and doing some other measures like that. That's going to be a discussion point for down the road. But we can help you brainstorm if you have thoughts there. But really, it's best for you to come up with that idea that we can then review. But if you have additional concerns or you want to hear from us, we can do that also. And that could be a separate meeting. Okay, well, so then just a horizon right now.
What was that, Kelsey? You kind of breaking up on your connection there.
Oh, okay, just wanted to confirm that there's no other construction that you have planned.
No, we don't have anything else planned at this point in time.
Okay. All right, then the next thing I wanted to talk about was the DSSMR. The last one was the 2021 DSSMR. And so wanted to touch on if there's any changes and trends in instrumentation, talking about, and I think we talked about the piezometers already. Hopefully that's returned, or you've said it's returned to regular monitoring per the DSSMP and per your plans. for consistent monitoring. I think there may have even been a more frequent monitoring schedule. Maybe that's discontinued now. And then also in the 2021 DSSMR, I know you'd moved to biannual defamation surveys. So since then, have you noticed any, in your most recent surveys, have you seen any additional lateral survey measurements that you were worried about? I know there was like 0.2 and 0.4 that were particularly concerning. And then your 0.2 measurements we're getting pretty close to the threshold value.
Yeah, no, since we enacted that, I mean, we haven't seen anything move out of the norm. So yeah, I mean, we'll continue to do biannual survey assessments of those monitoring points. But there was nothing of significance. And like you said, I mean, we touched on the piezometers. They haven't been read, but they will be moving forward through 22 on a regular schedule. So we'll have more baseline information on those piezometer readings.
Okay. Yeah, and if you do have any additional, like any significant modifications that happen mid-year, make sure that you're in touch with our office about that. So Kareem is aware. I guess the other thing to highlight, and this is something items, we had a letter this August 23rd about following up on your DSSMR. So we asked for a plan and schedule in that letter, which would have been due in October, and we haven't seen that yet. So there were a number of comments that we're still looking for. So I just wanted to make sure that you're aware of that, and please send us a plan and schedule as soon as possible for that.
I don't recall ever seeing that, but I don't know.
Jeremiah, do you recall seeing that letter that Kelsey's referring to?
I do not. That's what I'm just looking up. But did that have, was that tied to the ODSP? Because there was some overlap there.
Well, so there was the ODSP, we have a separate letter, and that's actually the other outstanding plan and schedule that we're looking for. So that was a June letter, and we're also looking for a plan and schedule on that one. So those are the two plan and schedules that were kind of outstanding. So this is the gentle call reminder of please make sure that you're sending us plan and schedules in response to the letters. If you're having an issue getting letters, please, those are things to address. If you're e-subscribed to the project, both of those letters were e-filed, and so they're visible that way. I also emailed courtesy copies of both of them. And that's both to the commissioner and to Jeremiah and Billy Ann. So that should be visible. But yeah, if there's any concern getting them, reach out to Kareem and I. But also, I think both of those are visible publicly on eLibrary. And if you want the date, our letter about the DSSMR is August 23rd, 2022, and the ODSP letter is June 13th, 2022.
Yeah, and I have those, and I have a corrective plan and schedule for the ODSP.
Okay.
I don't remember.
I'll have to look at that, Kelsey, because we developed those for both, and they should have been submitted, I believe they were e-filed. So if not, we'll e-file them again. I'm not sure what's going on here.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, and if there's something that's a broken connection on our end, we can follow up with that also. I didn't see them. I haven't seen them come in over time. I was kind of keeping an eye out for them, and I didn't see them when I looked most recently. Well, I guess most recently this morning also, in advance of this call. So if we can get those, especially if you have them produced and you just there's something missing about getting them to our office, that's not something we really want to drop. We want to make sure that we move forward with those things.
Yeah, I mean, I developed the the corrected plan and schedule for the ODSP, June 30th, 22. So, I mean, it's been sitting out there. Okay, we'll take a look at that. I don't know what's going on.
Okay, please circle back if it looks like, if you're confident that you filed them, let us know with maybe the accession number or the filing confirmation. And if you don't have that, then maybe we'll just coordinate to have you resubmit them, because I don't believe that we've received them. So yeah, those would be good things to follow up. I guess then as a sidebar, then are there things that you are working on for those plan and schedule follow-up items that, you know, maybe not having seen your plans, do you have anything in progress that we should know about?
Remember what we just talked about a little bit ago? You just say this?
We've got like 5 plan and schedules going here, Scott, so they're hard to keep track of them all.
It seems like we're going over the same thing.
This one we're talking about now is the ODSP, the Owner's Dam Safety Program, and there was an audit done by, I believe, Dowell, which was submitted, and then Jeremiah developed a plan and schedule to address the recommendations from that audit.
Kelsey, most of those items that are follow-up, I think there's like 9 comments in total. Most of the items we have 2023 deliverables, either like Q2 or Q3 of 23. And a lot of it is associated with, I think it goes back to where we started this whole conversation. We need to have dam tender specific training and operations and maintenance plans that he can fall back on. And that stuff we're planning kind of after the weather breaks in the spring, early summer of 23 to deal with. So that's, yeah, the schedule's there, but we'll get that. I don't know why you don't have that, but we'll get that over.
Okay, well, we'll get it sorted and make sure that, you know, that's not a ball that gets dropped moving forward. So just so you're aware that that's kind of what I see on my end. So that's good. I'm glad it's on your radar and it's something that we can address. I guess as far as dam tender training, I know the ODSP external audit says that after the last inspection, there was that Brandon was able to attend the Bureau of Reclamation training about dam operators. So that's really good. I'm glad that you were able to send him to that or the virtual training at least. And I'm sure that was really helpful. But yeah, continue training for Brennan and for yeah, I mean, I guess for commissioner awareness, because that was also highlighted in the ODSP, just making sure that you guys have foundational knowledge and information about the project. You know, as far as you have quite a bit of material, but you know, where is it, and is it something that you review, and is it something that you know how to access? That kind of thing can be really important. So yeah, those are good things to keep in mind and stay aware of. And I'll look for or I guess Kareem will look for future submittals on that front.
Kelsey, this is Jonathan. Is there anything in that August 23rd letter that you want to bring up now, or anything we should be aware of?
Yeah, so there were 5 comments. Some of it was, let's see, there was a concern about the piezometer, especially or both of the piezometers. So after the last couple of DSMRs really documented the repairs. So there was the piezometer 1 repair, and I guess this is kind of the nitty-gritty numbers, but it looked like a dry reading at piezometer 1 was measured deeper than dry readings in the past, and also dry readings at piezometer 2 were measured deeper than in the past, which doesn't really make sense based on what you did. So, because the repairs, in my understanding is that the repairs included shortening the PVC pipes for the piezometers and replacing the cover. So it looked like they were getting maybe 0.7 to 0.9 feet deeper over time, and that was kind of inconsistent between the last two inspection reports, the last two DSSMRs. So just wondering what that was about, and if folks could take a look at what those dam tender measurements were. That first comment was to verify that the dam tender measurements are consistent and appropriate. I don't know if that's something that you also noticed or was on your radar about measurements. It might be easier to look at the report when you're kind of responding, which is fine.
Yeah, we'll take a look at that.
Okay, and then we highlighted just I know Jeremiah and I talked about last year in May, we talked about just concerns about making sure that we're aware of high flow observations and potential incident response follow-up. And this is, what we talked about a little bit at the beginning of the call, but last year, rather in 2021, it sounded like there was that issue where there was potential sabotaged operations with some high downstream flow spikes, which it sounds like from our calls was, not sabotaged operations, and was instead some separate issues. But if you do see that downstream flow spikes are, potentially related, that could potentially be related to the dam or sabotage operations, both of those items are probably things that you should activate your EAP for, and probably things that you want to respond pretty quickly with by sending someone out by sending your dam tender out to just make sure that there's no signs of tampering. And yeah, so that was a potential concern, and also the concern that was also partially raised with the ODSP, that potentially that Jeremiah, as your chief dam safety engineer, wouldn't necessarily be aware of that kind of issue unless you tell him. So he needs to know when there are issues like that come up that could be related to operations, because it could be very concerning if something happens at the project and your chief dam safety engineer doesn't know about it.
Yep, Kelsey, and we've chatted about that, and I think that kind of goes into this latest, the earthquake, because we've now coordinated with DES, Brandon, commissioners. I mean, everyone's aware that if they're, I guess it's see something, say something approach now, and I got notification of the earthquake, and so I told the county to get Brandon up there, and then we responded to you. So I mean, I think that will be the approach moving forward if there is something out of the ordinary.
Yeah, and I think that you did a great job handling that earthquake follow-up. I'm glad that it wasn't, more major quake closer to your project, that kind of thing. But the response seemed appropriate to me. So yeah, just getting in touch with well, I guess you didn't get in touch with Doug Johnson, or did you contact him separately? I let him know, so that
no, we did. I guess we did not get in touch with him.
Sorry. Okay. Well, if it is an official EAP activation, well, there's probably people other than us that you need to contact, and there may be just make sure that if it's something that's supposed to trigger the EAP, that it does. Which earthquakes could, but I don't know that this one necessarily would have. So I think this sounded good. If it was a more significant event, it needs to make as an emergency response, it needs to go to. I think it was fine in this case. Just be cautious that it goes to the right place, because true emergencies. I'm not on call 24/7. I may be out of office on an inspection or something like that. If there's something really major, it needs to go to Doug, and Eric is the second backup in that case.
Yep.
Yeah, and I don't know if you are able to monitor in the room, but Kareem had to drop off because they just lost internet in our office. So I'm working from home today, so I don't have that problem, but yeah, Kareem I will make sure he's caught up. Let's see, and then I had a check-in about the lateral survey measurements, which we already talked about for this DSSMR, so that's okay. And some discussion about that. Let's see, then as far as the audit, it's so we had, if you had a response in June, then you probably saw our letter comments earlier that month. So it's on. Make sure that your program is successful, that you're able to have the right information, that you're able to respond appropriately. Because yeah, those are some major items, and again, asking you to prioritize recommendations regarding the dam tender, things like that. If you're trying to monitor conditions at the dam, and your dam tender is giving you data that he maybe is looking at a different location than he's supposed to be looking at, or doing other things. And this is nothing against Brendan. Like, I know everything I have seen from him, and in meeting him in 2021, like, I know he's new to the field, but also interested in trying to get up to speed. And that's what it is, but it is your responsibility as the licensee to make sure he has the information that he needs to do this successfully. So please make sure that that's high on your list. And yeah, there was some other updates about that. The next thing I want to talk about was the EAP. Just as a reminder, the EAP, so I know you did the functional exercise report, which is great. We have that, it's under review in our office. There were some follow-up items from that, and it looked like you'd flagged to try and get more response volunteers and encourage citizens to register for IPAWS with a newspaper article in October or September. Just wanted to check, is that something that happened? And where are you at with that follow-up?
So, Kelsey, this is Jackie.
She nodded.
Can she hear me?
Yep, she can hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hi,
Jackie.
Hi, how are you? So Val Cartwright, the head dispatch, and I are in the process of writing an article for the paper about texting 911, reverse 911, and IPAWS. So it has not been completed, but we are working on it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, and so I noticed that just to check, and this is my understanding of the system. So regarding that IPAWS registration, do people get emergency notifications if they're not registered? And it sounds like it sounds like you have reverse 911 set up. So my understanding was that they would get alerts if they were in the location. So is the IPAWS registration necessary for evacuation or not?
No, so what happens is, like, if we have an area, they send a polygon out on the IPAWS system, and that call goes to people in that system. Actually, and Sheriff Dunkerson just walked in the door. He can explain it also.
So they don't have to sign up for emergency notifications with the IPAWS system. Their emergency alerts on their phone have to be turned on. With that said, Jackie's right. They draw out a geographical area of the county. They send it out, and it's real similar to an Amber Alert, real similar. And that's how those go out. So that's how they work.
So then, so why do you folks need to sign up for the IPAWS system? Is that just?
This is Sheriff Dunkerson again. They don't need to sign up for IPAWS. There's no system in Granite County, to my knowledge, yet unless we get some kind of emergency notification app where people have to sign up for it. So if we have a fire situation out at East Fork, we can draw out of the south end of the county and notify everybody, you know, for example, evacuate the East Fork, Georgetown area. And anybody in that area, it's gonna come across the TVs, it's gonna come across your cell phones, it's gonna come across anything that connects to Wi-Fi or the internet or anything. So that's kind of how that works.
So Kelsey,
Good
I,
information.
yeah, I think on that, on the EAP, it was just relayed as reverse 911 in the paperwork when we did it at the end.
That's
of the-
reverse 911's old terminology. They did have a system like that years ago in the county where they could reverse call everybody, but that's an old system.
We're outdated.
The biggest thing with the text to 911 is we've talked about the tabletop exercises. We only have 4 911 lines, so if we get a bad road day on the interstate and there's a bad crash, all of these people, everybody on the interstate calls 911 and they sometimes get a busy signal. They oftentimes get a busy signal because I got one dispatcher to answer 30 calls at once. With the text to 911, we can receive up to like 100 texts at a time into dispatch. And that's something I think that we learned that we'd like to get out to the public is you do have the ability to text to 911. And it's not being very well utilized and even in the bigger agencies. I talked to the undersheriff in Gallatin County and he said they don't get a lot of text as well. But
So that's just something that Val and I are working on to educate our community.
How do you send a location then?
Okay, that makes sense. And yeah, just I had the sense that there was no need to sign up for evacuations, but really wanted to make sure because I wasn't clear on that based on what I was seeing. Okay, so future newspaper article in progress for both of those things. Was there a PIO training with the state of Montana DES folks, or was that something that happened?
Yes, there was. We had it in October. Sheriff Dunkerson, myself, Commissioner McClure and Billy Koleski attended with Audrey from Montana DES.
Okay, great. Thanks for doing that. That's great. And then there was something else about having material available and ready at the dam or nearby to stockpile, or which sounded like material stockpile and potentially equipment. Was there some change to material that's located by the dam?
No, the same people have materials available. I was visiting with Paul Alton. They do have a grader, I believe, I don't have my papers in front of me, that is available up by the dam in the winter time. So there is something available at all times up there.
And Kelsey, that was related to, I guess, when I was hosting the functional, early on, we talked about having materials on site potentially. But there's a private landowner or gravel pit not far from there that the county was going to confirm with, they have materials, and then also location of a grader if needed. And it sounds like Paul's taking care of that. The big thing being enacting, if we do enact the EAP, just having available sources for materials that are close by, and the county's taking care of that.
Okay. So. Okay, so you also have confirmed then that the gravel pit is available for the county use in an emergency, or that you can use material there.
Yes, we have the code to their gate. It's in our EAP.
Great, that's fantastic. So nice work. Yeah, just then upcoming things as a reminder. So I know last year we talked about the annual EAP status report. That's an annual transmittal that we expect at the by the end of the year every year. So that's coming up. And it's a pretty formulaic outline that should be very consistent with what you sent in the past, with just any updates that make sense to include. That's a reminder that we'll be looking for that by the last day of the year. We also one of the big things that it does include, though, is the sudden failure assessment. So we did have a letter following your 2021 EAP annual status report and the 2022 EAP update that happened before your functional exercise, just with comments on those things. And we did not ask for a response, but we did have a couple comments that we expect to be included in upcoming filings. And the big one here is the sudden failure assessment timing. So it sounds like just sudden failure assessment is that computation of, what is the time to, emergency response time, looking at the first impacted residential structure. That's something that was, there's some back and forth there that we tried to document in that June 8th letter to you. But my understanding is that there's a letter in January that you sent in January 7th, 2020 with some additional discussion about the sudden failure timing. And that letter extends your verification time by 15 minutes, and it provides some justification based on travel time for Bill West. So those additional that time hasn't made it into the current sudden failure assessment time that we're seeing now. So I think that there was just maybe a dropped letter or missed update. So just make sure that you revisit that letter, and then if there's any changing in time based on the switch from Bill West to Brandon Parrott, then maybe take a look at that and see if that's something that needs to be adjusted a little bit. So that is something that shows up that should be evaluated with your annual letter. And then just so we had some comments about the 2022 EAP update, and I know that we have an updated version with your functional EAP report. At least that's my understanding. So we haven't reviewed that submittal yet, so that's still under review. So if that is addressed in whatever we've seen most recently, then great. That just for your awareness that there was a comment there. And then I guess the last thing I had here is, do you have any additional EAP updates that you had planned following the functional exercise that you did, or other observations over the course of this year?
I feel like on our side is the things that we just discussed, the PIO training, that we're gonna be doing the article for the paper and public education on the 911 system. Yeah, and we tested the alarms on the day we did the test or the inspection on November 15th. We tested the alarms and they are sounding in both locations.
Okay, that's great. So yeah, so that's mostly information that would go in the annual EAP status update, and that's really good information to have, and that's most of what you need. So that's great. But it sounds like no planned updates to the EAP document itself right now. So that makes sense. That's fine. Okay, so that's what I had for the EAP. The other status, a couple other status updates. So after the last inspection that I did in person, there was a follow-up letter that I sent in July of 2021. So we didn't, just as a reminder, we didn't require a response to that. There's no major actions that you needed to take, but we did have a couple comments just as updates to you, and especially just as a reminder that there was the one notable comment about your responsibility to provide inspection access during inspection. So specifically, we need to be able to, at minimum, get into the spillway and at the top, like so with a ladder, and potentially also be able to get into the vault with the air sensor. So those are things that were missed on the 2021 inspection, which is a little bit less than ideal because that was when the Part 12 IC was present. So, you know, they weren't able to look at part of the project during their field inspection, which is not awesome. But hopefully, I know that there was so much work on the spillway. So like ideally there wouldn't have been, you know, those would have been mostly positive comments for you, but yeah, and it's not the most invisible, but just please keep that in mind. Then the other thing is the report for that inspection came out this August. I sent it by encrypted email to the same folks that normally would get the report, but I just wanted to make sure that, did you get the report and do you have any questions on the report?
Yeah, it was received. I don't have any questions.
Okay. All right. And just, I mean, if you ever do have questions on the report, you can, you know, let Kareem know and or flag them for the next inspection, or however you plan to communicate with us. We're around and, you know, open for back and forth or discussion. I mean, it's not going to change what's in the report, but, you know, but if you have concerns or questions that you wanted to be addressed in the future, feel free to let us know. Yep. About the report or about anything else. Upcoming, then just some upcoming studies. My understanding, so we still have your PMP update on our desk, and it's just like crossing the dotting the I's and crossing the T's kind of status is my sense of things, but we owe you a letter on that. And that's okay. But we're moving forward, which is appropriate. Then also the PTA analysis that I know we issued you another extension of time, and that is going to be the last one. So please try and keep that deadline, which is April 1st of 2023. So just wanted to make sure that that's on track. Any concerns there?
No, I coordinated with the sub and they're working on things, so we're still on schedule for that. We have not seen a product yet or any draft information, but they assured me they're on schedule.
Okay, that's great. And so I know that there had been, oh, sorry, keep going.
I just said the county got an invoice, so they must be doing something.
Hope so.
That's all we do is pay on that damn. All it ever is, it's all outgoing.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So then I guess just the other thing is, I think I saw in the contract that you were planning to provide all related background material to HDR, the consultant, doing the analysis. Just wondering if they also saw that fault report that was talking about the old fault in the reservoir.
Yes. Yep.
Okay, good. Okay, so that's where I'm at as far as status updates. Then I wanted to talk about some FERC updates, and they're kind of a good number of things that hopefully are just reminders. So just for your awareness, we're starting to send more emails, and there are some email only kinds of things. I know it's been a potential issue in the past when we send out the targeted emails from, it's the PRO_do-not-reply@ferc.gov emails. And those are based on our automated system of emails, which means that they go to the commissioner and possibly Billy Ann or Jeremiah, but I don't know. They might just go to the primary contact, which would be right now, I believe, is Scott. And so that includes training updates and reminders. So that's managed, and so just be aware that those are coming in. Please make sure that your contacts stay up to date and keep an eye on those messages. A lot of the key information is transferred in a couple different ways. But I think that might be easiest to make sure that you're getting those emails. One of the things that came out recently, and I guess we'll go from most recent to most or to least, but one of the things that came out recently, which was just in November of this year, was talking about we had a filings and hard copy policy update that which is so we've been on this sort of COVID-19 filings protocol for quite a while. And so now that's to an end. However, going forward, we're requesting that or requiring that you continue to submit documents to us by e-filing, which you're already doing. So this is not a big change, but now it's a regular practice rather than a COVID-19 practice. We're also have some adjustments with STIDs and EAPs. For STIDs, which are those supporting technical information documents you had to do like kind of before and potentially and after the Part 12s, and then regularly as there are major updates with the project because they're living documents. But so those, we're looking for those to be e-filed with one hard copy sent to our office. We're also looking for e-filing for EAPs moving forward, and they're for both of those files, we're looking for complete copies and not just partial pages. So mostly that's what you've been doing already, which is great. So thank you for that. And I guess just make sure that you're aware that we're not looking for partial submittals of EAPs or STIDs moving forward, and STIDs should be e-filed and have one hard copy. So that's where we're at with that. Questions there, or I can move through these next couple things kind of quicker if you prefer.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Just I guess the other thing is, so our office did move. So this summer we had the official office move. So we have a change of address. I haven't seen it in some of your most recent filings to us, so it might be worth taking note that our new office address for the Portland office is now still in Portland, but it's on Lloyd Boulevard and not Broadway. So if you're looking, just make a note, and if you're planning to for e-filing the information, the address is different, so please be aware. One of the things to be aware of also is, so we have what we call the annual letter and reminder of responsibilities. We've talked about this in the past. It's previously been e-filed to you, and I think you may have gotten hard copies in the past. Again, there was some email updates with this information, but yeah, just to make sure that you're aware, there are now these are now 2 files, and they're not going to be updated on eLibrary or mailed to you anymore. They are on the website at ferc.gov. There are 2 separate files. It's the annual letter and the reminder of responsibilities. There were links set in the email, but also if you Google FERC annual letter or FERC reminder of responsibilities, you can find them fairly easily. And they'll have a date where they were last updated. So both of those items are really good to review. I strongly recommend that all of the commissioners review these documents annually, or at least when they're updated, because they're updated roughly annually. It's good information about our current commission like updates, what we're currently emphasizing, some of the things that might be relevant to you. It is not a comprehensive list of everything that you need to do as a licensee, but it is intended to be a reminder of, some of the more critical things that have come out in the last year, some of the emphasizing information for the committees, and and refreshing on some of the critical requirements that you have as a licensee. So some of the highlights from the last one talk about, there's an explicit discussion of the EAP annual status report. So that talks about the outline of what we're looking for in EAP annual status reports. there's a reminder, and there usually is in these updates about construction submittals. We need them at least 60 days in advance for a review. And there's an update on training courses. So there we have some new regulations, which is going to be the next thing I'll talk about. But there are some training courses for that are specifically available on the FERC website, and they are highlighted in the annual letter and reminder of responsibilities information. And then speaking of new regulations, you may or may not have followed this closely, but you should be aware that this year in April, there were some relatively large changes to the Code of Federal Regulations for FERC. So this was Commission Order number 880. There was an email and also an e-files item for about this update that went out to everyone on April 7th of this year. And so this is a large change in the way that we're regulating projects. The two biggest things, or well, I guess some of the bigger items. One of the biggest item for you is that we are changing the way that we do Part 12 inspections. So we are still doing them every 5 years. There's still an inspection, but every other inspection is going to be this periodic inspection, which will be less work than what you've just done. And every other inspection, okay, I see that Jeremiah is having to drop off. Thank you for joining us. And Jonathan, thank you for being the conduit of information.
Yep, you bet.
Yeah, so just the idea for Part 12 inspections, every other inspection should be a periodic inspection, which should be less work, and every other inspection should be a comprehensive inspection, which will be more detail and more work than the Part 12 that you just did, is the sort of how you might want to index to it. The other thing to know is that it's different. We also will let you know very, very clearly before you do one of these. So we will make sure that you know what we're looking for and where this is going before this comes up. You just did a Part 12, so this is not going to be a quick item for you. We will let you know well in advance as this is required, but please be aware because it is kind of a significant change. There's also been some changes to qualifications for independent consultants for Part 12s and how that works. The Owner's Dam Safety Program is codified in the Code of Federal Regulations, and that's not really a change, but it is maybe more hefty legally speaking. And then there were some changes to incident reporting. So that's again, just none of it should be a significant change for incident reporting, but it is codified. And one of the things that you should really, really be aware of is that we are looking for those responses promptly to the regional engineer, which is Doug, within, and promptly is defined as within 72 hours of discovery. So sooner than that is fine. But yeah, just please make sure that we are aware of conditions. What the conditions are a little bit better described. And so we're talking about any condition that affects the safety of the project or the project work. So like anything related to your project, any death, serious injury, or rescue that occurred at the project works or that involved your project operations. One of the clarifications is that this explicitly includes downstream or your employees or contractors working at the site. So that's those are explicit inclusions. If there are incidents that happen, those kinds of things, they need to be reported to our regional engineer pretty immediately. There's some additional guidance about, like what written reports, and you may have seen that a little bit in the past. I don't know if we've done too many written reports with you in the recent past, but there is a written report requirement for some kinds of incidents. A lot of times that's based on whether or not the incident is project related, called project related or not. And that's something that we determine. So you let us know about the project, and if you need to do additional work, we will let you know if it's project related. And then the other thing to be aware of is that along with the CFR updates, we have 4 new engineering guidelines. This is chapters 15 through 18. They are mostly related to the additional Part 12 inspections and like the material related to that. So not something you need to deal with immediately, but this will be part of the future for all FERC projects requiring Part 12. So
More regulations on this is what you're saying?
Different regulations on this, kind of more. This is universal for all projects. It's a change, Scott. It's a change, and this is something that will affect everyone. So it's not targeted at you or your project. It's a change FERC wide.
Kelsey, can I ask a clarifying question on the?
Of course.
Change in inspections, that's just affecting the Part 12D, and you said every other one, so every 10 years it will be less intensive, and then every 10 years it will be more intensive.
Yes, that is the understanding, but both will be different than what you have just done. So it is a change. One of the changes with the less intensive Part 12 inspections will be that you don't need to do the potential failure mode analysis review for every Part 12. So those less intensive ones will not require that.
And then another question on inspections going forward, is FERC still planning to complete the annual inspections when a Part 12D is not? Okay, and there's no change to those inspections?
Yes, so annual inspections have not changed. No, and this year this year should be the last COVID impact year that, where we're not doing inspections, particularly due to COVID and related scheduling. So the idea is that someone will be at your project every year moving forward, unless there are some other changes that happen that I don't know anything about. But Kareem should be out there this coming year and moving forward annually.
Kelsey, this is Jackie. I have a question. I got a notice yesterday that FEMA Region 8 is doing like a dam failure. It's a 3-day class. Would that be something that would benefit our county if I took it?
It could. I'm not aware of what that class is. So, I mean, it certainly wouldn't hurt. And FEMA, we try and use very consistent terminology with FEMA. If you do that, please keep in mind, though, that you are a high hazard dam regulated by FERC, or that this project is a high hazard dam regulated by FERC. And so FEMA is trying to push information for the entire US and all of the dams in the US. A lot of those specifically will be related to like very small non-hydropower generating projects that don't have a lot of expected loss of life, or that don't, that have very minimal risk in general. So just be aware that, you might be subject to some things that are a little bit, if they say something's okay, it might still not be okay for your project.
Right. Well, and I wanted to visit with you first before I did any more research into it to see if it would even be something worth me spending 3 days on, so. Okay.
Yeah, and I can look that up. If you want to send me the agenda maybe, or if there's any kind of link, we can have a closer discussion about, whether or not that might make sense. The one that we tend to index to is the course that we offer, which, yeah, I don't know that will be a virtual class in the future though. So it's somewhere in the US, and I can't tell you what location it will be at.
Right, that was like the one you were referring to in Minneapolis in September.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
I did not make that, because I had other commitments. So. Okay,
Yes.
all right, I'll send you the link and you can look through it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And if there's other thoughts, especially for any of the FERC changes, especially the CFR updates, the guidelines updates, that is very well documented, and that is also what we're trying to push some trainings on. Well, I say it's very well documented. We're trying to make sure that people it's an information need that everyone has because it's new. So we're trying to make sure that information is available for people who need it. So there are training courses that we're starting to issue and make available. There's some guidance updates. There's some, discussion, and some of that is available now, and some of that will be available in the near future before you end up needing to deal with it. It also may be that I don't know, that I can't speak to the inspection timing because I don't know yet, but you don't need to do the detailed inspection until your project is activated for it. So you may not be started on this depth and the detailed Part 12 inspections. That may not start for you for a few Part 12 cycles. I just got a message from Kareem. Kareem, why don't you just unmute and mention it, because I think that's it's not something that you will need to deal with too much yet, but could be a good awareness item.
Sure. So what I just so first of all, I apologize for missing most of this meeting. We're having some technical difficulties over here. But what I just texted to Kelsey was a comment about the digital project archive. So this is part of the new engineering guidelines that have been issued recently. So it's important you just find some time to please review that with your chief and safety engineer to understand what we will need to be included in a DPA, because that will take some time to pull together if it hasn't been started already. So it's just kind of a thing to, I think it's either 15, 16, or 17 of the new engineering guidelines where they do mention a digital project archive. So it's just one of the things that it's good to start early, because it's not something you need to submit to us immediately, but the sooner you start working on that, pulling project information together into a format that for us to submit to us in the future, it's helpful. So I figured I'd mention that when we get a chance.
I doubt we follow FERC's format, but we do have a very detailed electronic record of all the information we've found over the last 10 years related to Flint Creek. And I know there's all those file boxes in the attic. We've scanned those, and those are all electronic there. So we have a thorough archive on our server. So getting it into FERC's format, we'll have to see what that looks like. But it's all there.
Well, and that's fantastic. So thank you. I know that was quite the scanning exercise. So nice work. That's going to give you a big leg up. It's not something that you should that you want to take you by surprise. So be aware of what's coming down the pipeline. These are changes that are already in place. So there will be more and more information about it. This will not be the first time you hear about it. Hopefully it isn't the first time you've heard about it, because this is a reminder. But yes, those the annual letter and reminder of responsibilities do direct you to please take a look at what those new guidelines and information materials are. Take a look through what's there and set some time aside to do that. I strongly recommend it because it's a change. It's a change, and it's not a change that you want to take you by surprise. So it's good that you have the digital materials available, because for folks who don't, it's that
watching what's coming down the pipeline and saying, maybe we should start digitizing our files, or maybe we want to organize them a little bit. That kind of things to keep in mind. And so if you do have additional questions about that, feel free to direct them to Kareem. And yeah, but again, this is not something that you need to deal with immediately, because you just did your Part 12 inspection for the project. So those updates to the Part 12 program don't affect you yet. So you're in good shape for the time being. Just be aware that that is a change and it is coming. Other updates, I know we've talked in the past about having annual meetings. We didn't have one this year. I have heard some talks about some ideas of scheduling an annual meeting with folks. If you're still interested in that, which was my sense, I think we may, Kareem and others from our office, Kareem as directed by Doug Johnson, may look to schedule an annual meeting in 2023, potentially in person. So we will want to be in touch with you and keep that pipeline open. You are welcome to request an annual meeting if, if we haven't organized one in advance, but please do. Yeah, I think that if you may hear more about that one for 2023 in the near future.
Righty.
Yeah, and then that is what I wanted to get through. So I know it's quite a bit of material, but thank you. It's faster than doing the inspection, I suppose. So are there other questions or things that you want to raise though? Because the rest of this time is for you to ask questions for us, or feel free to bring anything up that you have thoughts about.
No, I think we're good, went over it pretty good a couple times. I think we're all on the same page. Just gotta figure out where we're gonna come up with the money to do all this new stuff. Thank you. You done?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a pleasure working with you guys and coming out to the county and seeing the project. So thank you all. If you need me, I'm still at Burke, but yeah, Kareem's great. You'll be in good hands. And yeah, I wish you all the best moving forward.
So do we.
Yeah.
And have a good Christmas and Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Yep. So we'll circle back on those two plan and schedules and the you'll hear more about the annual meeting. And then we'll stay in touch. And I say we and Kareem will stay in touch with you.
Wonderful.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Happy.
Thanks, everyone. Merry Christmas to you.
Nice meeting you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Did you get all that?
I took some notes.
Are you guys gonna
You didn't wish your
adjourn
happy
for
birthday.
lunch?
What's that?
Yeah.
Adjourning for lunch.
I cut it off.
Okay. Hold on a second.
Okay, we're back on at 1 o'clock here, and before we jump into Brandon Parrott, I'd entertain a motion on accepting the claims.
I make a motion, we accept the claims for November.
No second.
Any public comment? Being none, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, we'll go to this and then remind me on that meeting. So the next one's Brandon Parrott's dam tenders report.
Yeah, I don't know where it went, but
It didn't move. Oh, I put it back in your binder. I'm so sorry.
it stayed the same, and like I was telling you guys earlier, and I'm getting cold feet. So I think we ought to just bring it down to 6.
Yeah.
You know, cause. Like we talked, it's gonna be cold. I don't see any snow.
Yeah.
Little tiny.
So is that your motion, drop it to 6?
So it's staying the same.
Yeah.
Now we need to start getting it out.
Yeah, we gotta start.
Yeah. Okay. I second it.
Any public comment on that?
No.
Being none on the favor? Aye. Yeah.
I think what I call him.
Okay.
What was, Billy, what was Jonathan saying about that one picture that Brandon said something he needs to do?
Instead of taking the whole thing apart that he had unscrewed and taken apart, he could just pull that screw up, and he said that whole piece comes out. So I'll let him know.
Did you notice that
I did, thank you guys.
you get the coffee, they get the hot chocolate, like, oh.
Hey,
and I don't do
we
it.
got.
You get all of the chocolate.
Huh?
You get all of the chocolate.
It's chocolates.
All right. Well, what's your, I know, but what's your comment? You can tell the friend.
That's even him.
All right, I'll pass that on. All right, bye. He don't think we should drop it to 6. He thinks that if we leave it alone, we'll be fine. I'm getting pretty nervous with this, no moisture and.
Outer-
Packing up.
Outer snow at my place.
I haven't seen no good snow. It's all just sugar and dry. I think we better go to 6. We can always.
You know, my ponds didn't fill last year. On their own, and well, one of them did, the other one didn't. Anyway, we had a lot more snow this time last year.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, I mean, it was warmer. But we had a
It's
lot more.
going in, there ain't none in the ground. That's what's scary. It's gonna take everything we got right now. You can still build road. It's dusty. So, anyway, nothing, that's on that.
So he just wanted to keep it, he felt he wanted to keep it at 10,
Yeah.
and the reason was
He feels it'll fill.
it'll fill.
But we can't take a chance.
I'd rather there and then they can put extra out down the pipe if it does get closer to full, then we can mix, you know. It's just. Alrighty, well, we'll go to,
What about the meeting on the 27th?
we're not gonna have a commissioner meeting in December 27th. We'll come back into on the January.
3rd.
Is it?
It'll be January 3rd.
Okay. That sound good to you guys?
Well, good to me. Give Billy a break.
Hopefully it snows and I can go skiing.
So do we, I guess we'll make a motion on it or have a motion.
Can I have that basket?
Yeah.
The basket.
I'll make a motion this.
I'll make the motion. Can you hear me?
No.
I'll make the motion that we meet in the next meeting, or we won't meet on the 27th of December.
I'll second it.
Any public comment? Being none, all in favor?
Aye.
When do you have to be sworn in? Aye. You have to have you swear in. Are they gonna have a group swear in for all the elected officials?
Not that's been announced.
Well, better get a hold of the clerk reporter and see what's going
Okay.
on.
I will. The judge
Because
was
this is
talking about it.
Maybe next week they'll do it. This is the 13th, we can do it the 20th. Throw that by them, Billy, not to tell them what to do, but that'd be better, do it the 20th, swear in and then call it good. Is that good, Blanche? Do it the 20th. I think we maybe go, want me to ask her, you want me to go ask her?
I can ask her when you guys. Yeah.
Can we do it that soon before the 31st?
Are we off now?
No, did you want to
Go
go
off
on?
for a minute.
Absolutely. Do you want me? Okay,
We'll do it after the first of the year.
okay.
Alrighty, so now we're a couple minutes or a few minutes. We'll go into the resolution 22 or 2022-14. Amending the county's fiscal year 2022 budget, first reading.
That's pretty self-explanatory.
And this. Thank you for doing that the other day too.
So what's all about?
So when we paid off all those loans, it wasn't in the budget. When we got the loan and then paid off all the loans, it actually wasn't in the budget, so we have to increase that budget.
So this is about.
Yeah, so this is just, it's a formality. We increase the budget.
And that's just the first reading, so.
Yeah. I mean, if it's pretty self-explanatory. Is all, and that was. Let's see. So what happened like with the sanitarian. This happens quite often with the sanitarian. Is that we get money from Anaconda Deer Lodge, but they don't send it timely, so it bumps over into the next fiscal year. So we have to increase the budget to account for.
Jumped in there.
No,
So it's what, the sanitarian. And extension service. Yeah, so. These are end of the year. Budgets that ended up being over and they have to either be zero. Or more, or or some budget power left in there, can't be in the negative. Is why this.
You make a motion?
That's just the first reading. Well, we got a few minutes. I think we need, on this Mako insurance stuff. I'm reading that somebody's, why do we have? See where it comes as a claim comes to here, that total amount. Why do we have the same day, same claim to get charged twice? Everything's the same, but how come we get charged, instead of just this? And like when the ambulance hit that guy's truck, it was like a $1,500 bumper. We had it $7,000 there. It looks like we're getting double whammy. They're paying out now. That's what I was hoping they'd have been here on time, we could ask them.
So.
I don't understand. Same numbers and everything, except for different pricing. Same day, I remember when this happened. And then the same thing, they didn't do two of them, but yet they'll get paid twice here.
So is that a total for this right here?
Yeah.
14,000?
Yeah, for all of that. And that's why I was thinking it looks like we're getting double charged. Or they're paying two different claims out.
It's 14,000 for that total claim then?
For both of them, yeah. And the one truck, I know what the bumper cost. I was there when she hit it. And that guy told me it was $1,500 bumper. Well, it probably cost another 500 to put it on, but still, it's $7,000. This is a problem we've had with Mako before. They paid claims without asking us. And we really complained and bitched about it. Don't be paying this stuff out like they did with, we're off, right? Sure,
No.
can we go off because I have mentioned the name?
Yep. Hold on.
We're gonna go ahead and move ahead here to a Medicaid rate for nursing home in Montana, review of Mako's position. Discussion and decision.
I'm gonna abstain on that, because Medicaid is a big thing and it's really complicated. I totally don't understand it, especially with they talk about in the legislature. I mean, you gotta really listen and so you gotta do what you wanna do, but I'm not gonna vote.
I've read it over and I'm like you, I don't really understand it. It's hard to.
Well, that's just one little part of Medicaid. And you know, I agree with them. Basically. But I don't know, I mean, it's just a complicated issue. And I don't.
Well, and then it says, you know, that when you're reading it, they've been losing money on this, that's why a lot of these are closing down, so. Why do they take money away? If they know we're gonna shut something down, when they're making in the long run more money, having it open and. See, I don't.
So is this is the letter? Is this, they're requesting a letter saying that we support them
Well, I don't know if it's.
to raise the rates? What's this from?
I think it's available from Mako. They sent it in
Okay,
your
so this
correspondence.
is,
Go on the letter of support, is what it is. You understand this stuff as a nursing home.
I read it, my interpretation of it, they're fed up with the feds not reimbursing the adequate rate. And
I think it's.
So
state
basically-
now, Louis.
what's that?
When that passed, the Medicaid stuff and back in the day. The feds only paid it for a certain amount of years. I think
Yeah.
it goes to states now. The state has to pay that. So
understand.
I'll give you my interpretation of what the federal government's trying to do. The whole system is set up to break private entity and have federal government take it over. So that's what they're doing. The feds need to change it. I mean, I guess if you want to join up and I guess take a stance against what they're doing as far as reimbursement.
and go with these counties that are saying, hey,
On the back.
the house is on fire and we need your help.
Yep.
I support them, I mean, that's what I was saying, that they should keep cutting and cutting and. The elderly and some of these nursing homes, and other people are suffering for their BS.
The nursing home here is, you know, it's getting the taxpayer supplement, but yeah, it's definitely gonna be more and more onto the taxpayers if the rates continue that
I
way.
think Medicaid goes to state. When that passed, it was the federal government was gonna take it for like 2 or 3 years, and then it went all to state. I'm pretty
When
sure.
it says the administration is paying close to 800 per day to fund care facilities and an average of 212 per day for senior long-term care.
But doesn't that money trickle down from the feds? They
It
get
did for
this,
a while. I don't know. You know, I could be wrong. I'm not gonna. But anyway, I was telling them I'm gonna stay voting on it because Medicaid is such a huge issue. And it'll be in the legislature, and I'm not telling certain people what to do, and.
so you wanna
I'm
just,
on
all right, I understand. Definitely, yeah, something needs to happen and they're trying to go to the governor, sounds like. So I guess the issue would be whether you want to do a letter of support with them or not.
Got some from Paul Talon here too. He said, with that change in 1 month, the lake will rise 0.01 chance in 30 days. That's all.
You went to six?
But I just thought, I don't know how you can say that.
That what?
Pass that on. All right, pass that on.
Who's that from?
Paul Talon.
I think. That doesn't make sense to me.
So I guess the question had it, if you want to do a letter of support with those other counties to the state encouraging Medicaid being reimbursed.
Keep their nursing homes going and get it right. I just don't understand what Chuck's saying. I don't, I just.
He's thinking is totally with the states now with the state of Montana to take care of the problem. And that's who they're going to is the governor but yeah, my understanding, I thought it was reimbursed through the Fed, so we need to, I guess, figure that out. I could real quick here, what we're doing. But either way, going to the governor potentially is a way to try to start getting some change done.
And my whole thing for me is Medicaid is such a big issue. That's one little tiny sliver of it.
The Medicaid, completely different than what? Okay, I see, Medicaid. Medicaid.
So there's a lot of.
State, right?
Medicaid comes from
So,
the state
yeah.
or Medicare comes from feds.
Yeah, this is different.
When they got that. The big health bill passed a few years ago, when everybody was covered. Okay. The way I understood, the federal government was gonna pick up the tab for a couple of years. And then it would switch over to the state. And that's why a lot of legislatures are saying, no, we can't afford it, several years.
So
And-
this is Medicaid, so this is, they're big in Gianforte and Montana legislature to fix the rate. So this is, they're asking the state to fix the rate.
Let's see.
So they're asking the state to put out more funds for Medicaid recipients.
Just for the nursing homes.
For nursing homes.
Yes. And so whatever.
Yeah.
My point is,
Yeah.
from my position, I'm not gonna tell people what to do in the legislature, because that is just a minute part of Medicaid. Because there's a whole bunch.
Okay, well, I'm gonna ask Governor Gianforte and the members of the 2023 Montana legislature to please fix the reimbursement rate for nursing homes. I'll make that motion. And support this letter.
I'll second it.
Okay,
And do a letter
and do a letter
of support.
of support to wherever it's supposed to go, Billy.
Yeah.
Okay,
Any public comment?
Elena.
yes.
Go ahead, Elena.
Thank you. Point of clarification, as a letter of supporting the other counties, that's a good idea, but it has nothing to do with Granite County, because you remember Granite County doesn't have any designated nursing home. So it doesn't affect Granite County. The Board of Trustees years ago dropped the designation, so it is not a nursing home. It's a rural critical hospital, but is not a nursing home. Thank you.
So do they take Medicaid?
Yeah, do they take Medicaid? I imagine they do.
I think
Yeah.
they do, yeah.
Yeah.
So.
This
This is complicated already.
does have something to do with. I mean, this money deal does have something to do with this, because their day rates and not who's paying what, right? I don't think she say that it don't have nothing to do with the nursing. All in favor?
Yeah, she's correct on the critical access, but there, yeah, you're gonna still have Medicaid. She's correct on the critical access hospital, but there's still gotta be Medicaid reimbursement. It has to be taken in consideration. Let me look.
So if they cut that up there, I mean, they'd be cutting into.
It says long-term care, and that's what they have up there at the facility is long-term care. So whether it's a nursing home or critical access, this is covering long-term care. Am I correct?
That's the way I understand
Let's
it.
see.
Am I correct in that way?
The letter.
I imagine they bill out to Medicaid from the critical access hospital for long-term care and are only receiving a certain amount and want more from the state.
And then what they said is in the hospital, or the mental hospital, I think it figures out to $800,
Yeah,
way more than.
Yeah.
What the other.
so is our hospital getting $800 then instead of the 12? You wonder, because they're critical access? Is that a good question?
Yes. Not a good answer.
Should we call Chad Green?
Good question not to ask. No.
It's not a good answer, good question.
And now he texted me and said, and lake level is going up.
Hmm?
He said, and lake level is going up. All down. We want it to go up. There's.
But your
So I think
stand,
we have to. We have to do what we're doing, I think. I mean, I just can't say, I don't think I could sleep at night 2 more weeks if it's still cold and there's still no moisture, good snows.
All right, make a motion for the.
We didn't make motion.
We
You
did.
did.
Here,
Stay at 6 or drop it to 6.
We made one. Yeah.
here's some info on critical access hospital. Each state determines how each critical access hospital for services is paid through Medicaid. So they set this, the state of Montana sets the rates for the critical access hospital.
They can pay up to 800 and whether they get 800 or not.
No, they don't want 800. I think that was just comparison. They're saying, okay, the state hospital, it figures out. That's what I read. I don't know.
Usually. Is there any other public comment on that?
No.
We need to sign this.
Yes. Thank you. I forgot about
Did
that.
I miss it somewhere?
You sign it and if you stop, let me see.
No, we have it on here.
Oh, no, because it's from when you approved the subdivision. And there's something in here that you all signed when they gave me. You can tell Blaine how much you don't like it and how you did it. This is the sheet already.
That guy's gonna work on the ambulance shed tomorrow and have it fixed. Just got to check. All righty, well, I guess we'll move on to.
Maybe I'll say aye.
Aye.
But yeah, we did, and did you ask him to say nay?
Nay, Chuck. nay.
Or,
Nay, nay.
or was it
Yeah,
abstaining?
he's
I
abstaining.
I abstained.
Abstained, okay.
Two eyes on pass. Eyes have it.
Okay, we're gonna go to draft notice calling for lease proposals for Phillipsburg ambulance review and approve. Blaine, how would you live?
Motion that we have public notice from Granite County calling for these proposals. For the county ambulance. Big drop.
Yeah, it's in the grass.
Oh, I second it.
Well, take two. here.
Oh. One, you can have two.
Any public comment on that?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carried and passed. That's it for today. Entertain a motion that we adjourn.
Oh, the resolution? You
I've already
did
done that.
Uh-huh.
I kind of went, cause we were
Yeah.
not wait, so. Wait a few minutes for the. All good.
Adjourn.
Thank you, everybody. And after that. Huh?